Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It is Monday, August 4th. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend out there, as it's 10 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, 7 o'clock out there on the West Coast. Of course, 9 a.m. here in the Central Time Zone, 8 a.m. Mountain Time Zone. So thanks so much for streaming in with us right now as we monitor the news of the day. We start out our week when it comes to another week of 24/7 news. That news cycle, of course, always at a high rate of speed, especially with Donald J. Trump as the president of the United States. Speaking of that, let's get into something he just posted moments ago on Truth Social about Sydney Sweeney. We also heard him talk about the ad just yesterday. A reporter asked about it because we're hearing that Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican. There were some social media videos going around of her at a gun range as well just recently. So is she MAGA? It looks like she may be, but let's see what President Trump had to say about it. Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are, quote unquote, flying off the shelves. Go get them, Sydney. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement that is a disaster. The CEO just resigned. The company is in turmoil. Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short but very woke campaign the company? The market cap destruction has been unprecedented. Billions of dollars lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was by saying on Truth that I can't stand her. So, you know, that was from 9:56 Eastern time this morning. So that was just moments ago from the president. We'll have a number of people on later in the broadcast. One of them, Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center, who has a take on the whole Sydney Sweeney ordeal, if you want to call it that. It's just a whirlwind of press for Sydney right now, but it is what it is, you know. So we will talk with Justine about that a bit later. Also, speaking of that, why don't we just stay on topic for a minute? President Trump actually spoke about Sydney Sweeney just yesterday, so I think we have that clip ready. Let's take a look.
Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
There you go. You heard it from the Commander-in-Chief just yesterday. I think that was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, on his way back, as that's the airport, I believe, that he goes to when he goes to Bedminster, New Jersey for the weekend. So, yeah, he was flying back to the White House and getting asked all sorts of questions. And we're going to dive into some of that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we kind of brush off the cobwebs from the weekend in the sense of, you know, from personal life, you know, hanging with the fam, maybe going on a vacation, going out to the market, whatever. And then now back into the news biz. And sometimes even during the weekend, it's hard to keep a lot of these topics off of mind, but you have to do it. You can't be only consumed by one thing. It's great to have that balance and to at least work on it. Anyway, so 10:03 Eastern right now. That was President Trump from yesterday. Speaking of President Trump from that 24/7 news cycle, POTUS spoke about the possibility of Russian sanctions. Let's start it off with that.
What Steve Witkoff's message will be to the Russians is there anything they can do to avoid sanctions at this point?
Yeah, get a deal where people stop getting killed. They had a number that just came out that a tremendous number of Russian soldiers are being killed. And likewise, Ukraine, a lower number, but still thousands and thousands of people. And now we're adding towns where they're being hit by missiles. So it's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war. And, you know, we stopped a lot of countries from war, India and Pakistan. We stopped a lot of countries. And we're going to get that one stopped, too. Somehow we're going to get that one stopped. That's a really horrible war. You heard about Cambodia and Thailand. We got that one done. We got the Congo, which was going on for 31 years. Rwanda. That one's done. We stopped a lot of wars. This is the one we seem to be This should be the easiest to stop, and it's not. I mean, Rwanda and Congo were going on 31 years and I got it stopped. 8 million people dead, at least. That's what they have, but I think the number is much higher. And the leaders of each country, Rwanda and the Congo, they were great. They were great, and they wanted it stopped. 31 years it went on. We stopped a lot of wars. Serbia, Kosovo was going to be happening, and I don't believe it will now, so we stopped that one.
And the president answering a whole slew of questions just yesterday. We're going to go through a lot of the topics that we saw on Rapid Response 47. I saw them specifically on Truth Social, of course. And if you'd like to follow Right Side Broadcasting Network on Truth, it's simply at RSBN. And if you want to follow us on X, it's at RSB Network. In the meantime, let's shift now over to Judge Janine Pirro. President Trump speaking about Judge Pirro, of course, a patriot on the right side of history. Here's that clip from that 24/7 news cycle just yesterday.
I will happily swear in Janine Pirro, who's going to be fantastic at what she does in D.C. Over the next very short period of time. I think she's going to be fantastic. Don't forget, Janine Pirro was a great judge and a great prosecutor. And because she was so good, I was there. She was an amazing prosecutor and judge. And because she was so good, they drafted her into show business. And she did fantastic. You know, The Five was the #1 show, et cetera, et cetera. Janine Pirro was also really good at that. But her real love is exactly what she's doing. And that's what made her such a success in show business. So Janine Pirro is going to be amazing. And I'll swear her in as soon as we can swear her in. We need her. She's going to be amazing.
It's a great point, a great person, and then also a professional that will get the job done. Ed Martin comes to mind as well. Paul Ingrassia. I mean, these are some real based people that simply love our country and will do what they have to defend it when it comes to, you know, in law and in government there. So all on the legal up and up, and it's great to see that. So let's go to a couple sponsors before we continue on with kind of a recap from yesterday when it comes to President Trump. Of course, we'll talk about the news of the day, the news of the week, the news of the 24/7 news cycle. We have a few interviews coming up, including possibly throwing to an interview that was aired on Thursday. But the reason why I'd like to bring that to your attention again, if you didn't get to see it, is because it has to do with freedom and it has to do with the country of Brazil and President Trump helping as much as he can when it comes to, you know, freedom of expression down there in Brazil. We'll get to some more details about that as there's this huge protest over the weekend there. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are just like you and me, humans that want to be free. And so we'll get into that possible interview. During the course of the morning, we're going to be here for a few hours as we monitor any live news that comes across our newsroom or across our desk here. And this is all brought to you by some great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. So medical freedom, of course, starts with access. And that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy provides and delivers. So they're changing the way people get their medication. So there's no insurance needed, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door, because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be complicated. All Family Pharmacy makes it simple in just those 3 easy steps. Select the medication you need online. Then from there, a licensed doctor reviews your order and writes the prescription. Your medications are then shipped directly to your door. So they carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 more medications. And yes, every order includes the doctor's prescription. So you can take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN10 to save 10%. Also, one of our other great sponsors, Kalshi.com/RSBN. If you're looking to bet, trade, or just check out polls, you can do that on Kalshi.com/RSBN. You're talking sports, technology, faith, politics, weather, all sorts of things people are talking about. And specifically, those are very general topics, but they get to some nitty-gritty stuff too, you know, very specific. So you can check it all out if you'd like, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Get that app as well. More than 1 million users on Kalshi.com. All right, so it is 10:09 this morning. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. My name's Matthew Alvarez. It's RSBN Live, coming at you live on this Monday, August 4th. Let's get back into President Trump from just yesterday as we continue to check out various videos across that social media sphere, if you want to call it that, that 24/7 news cycle information that we see. Everything from the U.S. Coast Guard celebrating 235 years of existence today. We'll get to that a bit later. And a number of other videos from various departments within our government when it comes to the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Homeland Security. We have all these fresh videos, all within that 24/7 news cycle, all brought to you right here and within the next few hours, as we have a number of interviews coming up as well. All right, let's go to President Trump from just yesterday. He spoke about tariffs. He spoke about, obviously, international tariffs. That's what they are, and fairness. But let's go to the first part of it, just speaking about international tariffs. Take a look.
Well, we're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money coming in, much more money than the country's ever seen, by hundreds of billions of dollars. And there could be a distribution or a dividend to the people of our country. I would say for people that would be middle-income people and lower-income people, we could do a dividend. But one of the things we're going to be doing is reducing debt. But we have hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our country now. We should have done this many years ago. And I did it in my first term with China. We didn't get to the rest because COVID hit. And you couldn't really go to France and Spain and Italy and say, let's start talking about some tariffs. But China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we did it then. And then Biden screwed it all up. He screwed everything he touched, he screwed up.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, you can just tell when there was that debate between President Trump and Joe Biden, that one, I guess, the most recent debate where he just, wow, Biden didn't look so good. So anyway, we know that President Trump, let's be real, he won the election in 2016. He won it in 2020. He won it in 2024. We know what happened in 2020. But now what we're seeing are the 20 core promises, the wins, and we're looking forward to more wins. We're looking forward to seeing those that broke the law be held accountable. We're looking forward to seeing any details, if there are any, when it comes to the Epstein case, you know. So we're monitoring all of that here at the network. Let's continue on when it comes to international tariffs as well. It's all about fairness. You know, for so many years, our country has been getting, and I was going to use the word, I'll just use it, screwed, over the years, because all these countries said, well, you know what, we're going to take this much, but we're going to charge only this much, and all these different details. But it really is about fairness, you know? So let's take a look at what President Trump said about that just yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not looking for leverage. I'm looking for fairness. We want reciprocal as much as possible. Sometimes reciprocal would be too much for them to handle because it would be a much bigger number. But we want to see some reciprocity. We want to see reciprocal wherever we can. And all I can say is this: our country will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. You just said it. Already we're taking in, billions and billions of dollars. And it was very unfair. The world treated us very unfair.
Right, so the world treating us very unfairly, but now that playing field evened out, rightly so. Great to see that there by President Trump and the team when it comes to international trade. As it's 10:13 this morning, monitoring any live breaking news or any developing news as it's Monday morning across the country right now. So nobody in the PM hour yet, but a couple hours away on the East Coast. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks again for streaming in with us as we cover the 24/7 news cycle right now. We'll bring on some guests here in just a bit to talk about all sorts of stories, everything from the Department of National Intelligence and Russia hoax and possible charges or indictments maybe, all the way to Sydney Sweeney, the ad. So we have a number of guests coming up that will chime in about those topics and other topics as we, again, continue to stay on the right side of history. This is not going to be any mainstream talking points over here. This is not going to be any of the false narratives that we've heard in our faces and seen in our faces over the decades. This is really based information all about simple stuff. And if you guys doubt that at all, please just watch the broadcast, because if you've seen us in context, for myself, I mean, I say things like, hey, common sense, we love God, family, and country. I mean, that's really what we keep reporting about. And if things in government or if things happen that are not based in truth or in God or in family or in country or in the Constitution, we should say something in the media about it, right? So that's why we're here. We're here to always stay on the side of truth. And everybody has had their journeys, ups and downs and upside downs. But the point is to always be able to be a voice, to have that freedom of expression, that freedom to be able to speak our minds, and information that we talk about here on this network. If I was an anchor down in, Sao Paulo in Brazil right now, and I'm speaking like this, you think that Lula is going to like that? No. But that's why Brazil, en masse, in a lot of towns across, I have a source that's connected there, they are having these huge protests. There were some people in New York City just yesterday having a protest. It's all about freedom. And they were also thanking President Trump for what he and the White House recently did, adding a 40% additional tariff on the country, because Lula thinks he's like a dictator type. He thinks he can try and do things when it comes to on the wrong side of history. Now, if you are a strong leader, that doesn't mean you're a dictator. It just means you're strong. And if you're doing it for the right reasons and on the right side of history, that sounds like President Trump to me, somebody that is a strong leader. And we're looking forward to seeing the wins. We're looking forward to seeing anybody held accountable that broke the law, so we don't have to deal with anybody trying to control our country ever again. So I think right there what I just said, I think those of you that voted for President Trump out there on the right side of history, I would say you would agree with that. I've seen some of the messaging that you've sent to me on Truth Social and other places. So, we're on the same team here. And what we hope is that more people on the left would maybe wake up and say, hey, you know what, let's go to the right here. Let's get this. It really isn't about, how we talk about, it's not right versus left. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's actually truth versus lies, or good versus evil. So you got to choose what side you want to be on. I know most of you that are watching, on the right side of history. So just going to tell it like it is, because that's what I think that you want. That's what I would want. If I were to tune into conservative media or tune into true conservative media, kind of like Rush Limbaugh, he always told it like it was. President Trump tells it like it is, right? Carolyn Levitt tells it like it is. Stephen Miller, same type of thing. And there's many people in conservative media, whether they have a podcast and they have huge followings and all that. Great. No shade on that. Why? Because they're speaking truth into darkness. I'm a big fan of that stuff. So I'm glad you guys are picking us today, and I hope you pick us for a lot longer in the future, as conservative media is going to continue to grow and be a voice for the people, as that's what we should be doing anyway when it comes to journalism, right? Honorable reporting, but also honest reporting, fair reporting. If there's something that is true that a Democrat says, I would say, hey, good job. You said something that was true. But the problem is, they and the mainstream media, which is 95% of media, they just don't ever really go there. They don't really say truthful stuff. They don't. It's not my fault. I'm just telling it like it is. Anyway, so let's go to the fact that the U.S. Coast Guard, I love the U.S. Coast Guard. I love, obviously, all the military branches. And why? Am I running for office? No. I'm a patriot. I'm a citizen of this country. I want the Coast Guard to not only, if I was out on a boat in the middle of a lake somewhere or some waterway and I needed rescued, man, I'll tell you, if I saw that orange helicopter, I'd be like, let's go. Or if there's a flooding situation like it was in Texas, I know a lot of people lost their lives. It was such a quick moving thing, but the U.S. Coast Guard came in and stepped in and got the job done very quickly. Same thing with the Army and the Marines down at the southern border, and just everything about our country. I mean, I can list off all the branches and all that, but just as a citizen, I'm like, these guys rock. These guys are awesome. So why don't we take a look at a video just to honor the United States Coast Guard. They are 235 years young. And I think we have two videos. We have one that shows a rescue, and then the other one is how they're also taking part in that southern border mission, where they're actually helping with the other branches of the military to stop the immigration, illegal immigration coming through, right, out on the waterways, and also stopping narcotics from passing through and getting to our shores. So let's start out with that rescue video. Again, the U.S. Coast Guard, 235 years ago today. Thank God for the U.S. Coast Guard. Here's a video of a rescue pretty recently.
And the swimmer's ready. Right. And begin hoist. Roger. Beginning hoist. about 30. Swimmer is halfway down, forward and right 40.
Forward right 40.
Forward and right 30. Swimmer is 10 feet off the water. He is on ground. Swimmer's away, swimmer's okay, easy back.
Roger,
Easy back and left.
Easy back and left, back and left. Via direct deployment of the basket to Luke Schuler.
Hold on,
he's calling us real quick. Swimmer 6-1, go ahead, channel C1.
You can just do a regular basket with no trail line.
Basket, no trail line, copy. This time I'll take it a little bit slower, so that way we kind of control that swing. Any questions or comments?
Do you want to do a trail line?
You said no trail line, right? You said basket, no trail line.
Okay, sounds good.
And bring the plate a little bit low.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Hold.
Hold.
Basket is on deck. Hold position here.
Good.
Eyes are ready for pickup. Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right. Hold.
Easy right. Hold.
Ready, take a load, take a load. Driver's coming up.
Okay.
You are clear back and left.
Right here. Nice. Back and left.
Survivor is right below the door. Survivor is at the chime panel. Steve, look at your two.
Yep, I got him inside C-span.
Roger.
Thanks, man. Good altitude.
Bringing him in.
Roger.
Survivors entering the cabin. Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Hold. Swimmer has the hook. Swimmer is connected.
Roger.
Eyes ready to pick up. Easy back.
Easy back.
Hold. Ready to take the load. Take the load.
Plenty of gas.
Good stuff there. And if you're just joining us right now, you're like, why is the U.S. Coast Guard rescue being played? Well, right before that video, I was talking about how the U.S. Coast Guard is now 235 years young today. So a shout out to the U.S. Coast Guard. Also, one more video when it comes to not only rescues of precious life, right? Also, indirectly doing the same thing when it comes to stopping the illegal flow of drugs, narcotics coming through to our borders. And in some cases, you'll see Coast Guard with Customs Border Protection, with local law enforcement out there on the waterways, and on top of that, the Navy, to stop the flow of illegal immigrants trying to come in via boat. In the meantime, let's watch a video from the U.S. Coast Guard, one more here in just this mini segment, when it comes to the fact that they're 235 years young today. So happy birthday to the Coast Guard. This video you're about to see was a drug interdiction where they were able to just get a whole lot of drugs off of the waterways instead of coming to our country. So it's going to be a video where it's just raw video, no real narration over it, but just take a look at this video from the Department of Defense. Awesome to see that there, that beautiful image. I saw that, I think it was, I don't know which branch, I don't think it was from the Coast Guard, but I saw that image on X. Great job, guys. Thanks for pulling that up there. So it's awesome to see that, right? So thank God for the U.S. Coast Guard, all of our military branches out there. Those of you that have served, our veterans, thank you so much for what you have done for our country. And speaking of veterans, if you go to my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez, yesterday, I posted a video, I think it was around 8 in the morning, I saw one online, and it was about a veteran who was walking his dog in a neighborhood, and one of the ring cams, so the ring cam captured a moment where the American flag right outside of the house fell down, all right? So it shows that. The veteran walks over to the flag, tries to pick it up and fold it and figure out what to do. Then there was a passerby, another walker, that came over, and they were able to just the folds of honor, you know how they fold it when it's memorializing a military service member. They folded the flag and they placed it on the seat cushion right there, and then they both walked off. It was a white guy and a black guy, and it's great because you know what? It's so anti the narrative of the left. They don't want Americans to get along. They don't want anyone to think, positively about each other, right? So it was just a wonderful kind of video. So if you didn't see it, it's at Matthew Alvarez. You just scroll a couple posts down. But it was a great moment. I have about 5,000 of you on there that follow. Thank you so much for doing that. Every one of you are awesome, and it's just we're all on the same team, right? And whether I stay at 5,000 followers or go up to whatever number, really, to be honest, I'm just glad to be able to have the freedom to be able to post what I want to post. And back in the day in mainstream media, if I did that on Twitter or whatever, Facebook, if I posted something like, my faith, my scripture, or my thoughts about things, and they weren't anything negative or bad or whatever, it was just positive. It was just my love for the country. Those kind of things were looked down on back in the day. So I'm just enjoying to be able to connect with you guys on there and to be able to put out those kind of videos. And, for me, getting 100 and something likes on that's a lot of likes in my opinion. I mean, it's not thousands, it's not millions. I don't care really. I mean, sure, it's nice to, have people follow your stuff, and I get it, but I'm just trying to be real with you guys because that's part of my job is to see what's going on out there, report it to you guys. Every night that we see the president's schedule, most of the time I'm posting, hey, here's what's happening the next day. It's just keeping everybody informed on what's going on, but also within that framework, not just carrying water for the administration. We love to talk about President Trump. We are supporters. I'm a supporter of President Trump. No question about it. What I'm looking to see outside of the 20 core promises is that number 9 in the 20 core promises is the end to weaponization against the people. And I think that's part of what they're doing right now. We'll see. Are there going to be any charges when it comes to the Russia hoax? Are we going to get more details on this Epstein case stuff? I don't know, but I'm monitoring it, because we want to keep our reforms cemented in, locked in, for not just these 3.5 years. We don't want just some other deep state puppet, whether it's the next president or another president after that, to come in and screw up everything President Trump has done for the country. And also, the people that broke the law were never held accountable. Well, I don't want to see that happen. That's just me, and I have the right to believe that, to say that. And I believe a lot of people agree with me on that. But we see President Trump talking about all of the topics I just brought up as well. And we saw Tulsi Gabbard the other day at the press conference with Carolyn Leavitt speaking about the Department of National Intelligence and all these receipts and evidence. So sure, it's a drum we'll beat here at the network, and I think conservative media is doing that as well. There's a lot to talk about outside of that as well. A lot of wins that we're seeing with President Trump and this team. So yeah, looking forward to covering it all with you guys. I can only be straight up and just myself with you because why not? I'm not reading from a teleprompter, just speaking directly to you here. And thanks again for streaming in on this Monday, August 4th. It is 10:29, so the bottom of the hour. Let's go to a couple of our great sponsors, including angelpaste.com, RSBN, the great promo code. You always get a percentage off with angelpaste.com, that miracle cream, but also there are a number of other products. This is a group based in Spring, Texas. It's awesome to be able to have these small businesses who are the backbone of America's economy anyway, but also on top of that, on the right side of history, conservatives that love God, love our country, love President Trump. You know what I mean? So angelpace.com. Use that RSBN promo code to get a percentage off. Let's switch to another sponsor, a great sponsor here, Tax Network USA. Speaking of patriotic things, Tax Network USA, these are great patriots at this group here. And if you missed any taxes, or you just have that on the back of your mind, maybe in one of the years, in the past years, you missed taxes, or maybe for a few years, all you have to do is give them a call, 800-357-1415, tnusa.com/RSBN. That's the phone number right there. That's the website. You could settle your back taxes today, but you could also at least get on a plan, and they'll help you along that way. So Tax Network USA, 10:30 on this Monday, August 4th. All right, so we're going to go to T.S. Dixon now, conservative analyst and author. Thanks so much for joining us right now, T.S. I know you've been on the broadcast a lot. What are your thoughts about just everything that's going on out there? There's so many different topics. So, I mean, your thoughts just about the country and your assessment right now, sir.
Well, I think that Trump is doing a good job. He's following his agenda, his 20 promises or his 47 promises from his campaign. And we're seeing a lot of improvement. I mean, on a regular scale, this would be like a conservative dream come true. But I think the stakes are higher now, and we just saw that how well he performed in his first term in a way that people just didn't think was possible, and so he came in, it was such a breath of fresh air. But unfortunately then, after COVID and then the stolen 2020 election, they were able to undo so much of the great work that he had put in place. And so this time around, the stakes are higher, and we are more apprehensive, and we know we need to see certain things happen for this time, the reforms to be permanent.
Yeah, exactly. So as you said last week, for them to be cemented. So we see that the border is closed right now. We see that inflation's down to 2%. We see that it's going even lower. There's so many different things that within the big, beautiful law, I mean, there's a lot of positives going on. But you're saying to keep that all locked in outside of this administration into the future, you were saying one of the weeks that those that have broken the law need to be held accountable, or we'll just simply get everything reversed, or even worse, even way to the left, no?
Yeah, we were saying this, I think, back in February or March on the program. And so we were definitely ahead of the news cycle, but it really was inevitable. This is a serious Western reform movement, the third, or really maybe you could say fourth, in the history of the modern Western world. And so it's really unavoidable. There's a set pattern for how these things go to create the massive institutional reform that the countries are demanding. And so the administration of justice is the fourth and final step, most important step. And if you're going to perform these reforms, it's inevitable. It must happen.
Exactly. So, when we look in history, you look at George Washington, you look at Abraham Lincoln, you look at Teddy Roosevelt, to your point from last week. These were great reformers, right?
Correct. Yeah, we've had three great reform movements just in the United States, with the Emancipation Proclamation, the Revolutionary War, and then the worker reforms of Teddy Roosevelt's WASP group at the end of the 1800s. They were called the Republican Progressives, and not to be mistaken with the Democrat progressives that we have today.
Exactly. Should there be more of an urgency when it comes to, and I'm going to be very transparent and very open, to arrests those that have broken the law with the receipts, the evidence? Like, there should be more of an urgency, or are we kind of, seeing how things go with investigations, with the DNI over to DOJ about Russia? I mean, the midterms are still a ways away, but still kind of around the corner, and we don't want to ever even get close to losing the House or the Senate, because we don't want the left to get in there and try and impeach the president. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's what they want to do. So what are your thoughts about just the urgency of getting this done? Should we just back off? What do you think?
Well, there's a process to law enforcement. So you don't just arrest people. There has to be a lot of times that you have to have an investigation, you have to acquire evidence, and then if you can prove that a crime's been committed, a lot of times they'll impanel a grand jury and do an indictment, and then the arrests happen. And so you have to follow that process, but you can typically expedite that process. Now, they've had several months being in power and getting their organizations together and putting their leadership teams together and running their special initiatives like these special investigations. crossfire hurricane and what have you. So I believe that it looks like this is well underway, and we should probably see something soon. If we don't see these kinds of results, these are the giant implosion events that would sink the midterms.
Okay, I mean that of course that's your take on that. I mean, we do see on the other side of the coin, though, we see so many wins with President Trump, right? I see them, you see them, the country sees them. So when you look at all those wins, but you juxtapose that to if we don't see arrests, you're saying that the midterms would be sunk because of no arrests?
Well, like I was saying earlier, the stakes have been raised. We're in a new paradigm. It's not enough. The wins are sort of bare minimum requirements, so to speak, right? We saw those in the first term. We're seeing them again, even in a greater scale in the second term. But the public has realized that if all we get are pretty good policies for 4 years, then they'll only last 4 years. And then as soon as the left gets back into power, we're in for another assault on our wallets, our pocketbook, our freedoms, our constitutional rights. And so it's not enough to have just 4 good years. We want to have good decades. We want to have a good future for our kids. And the only way that we achieve that is through a reform movement, through a reform president that's going to reform the federal government and ensure that the Constitution has a continuation, an era of prosperity, freedom, and justice going forward. And an even better America than the one we've had in the past. And so these great reformers, these 4 Mount Rushmore presidents, there's a reason they're on Mount Rushmore. The country, and therefore the world, was not the same after they were in office. After their 4 or 8 years in office, the whole world was changed. They were a point in history because that's how powerful their reforms were. And let me just say that the reforms weren't easy. None of these men had easy goes of it. They risked their life. They were nearly killed, most of them. Some were killed, like Lincoln, but they would give anything to do the right thing and to uphold and ensure freedom, justice, and the Constitution going forward. And so that's what we need to have here. And yeah, it's a dangerous game. It's high stakes, but that's the opportunity. And I think Trump is up to it, and his team is up to it. He's performing better than he did in the last term. As like a yearbook president, as a school book president, you'd see like all 47 presidents. I'd give him an A or an A+. I'd say if a president does 70% of what your agenda wish list is, they get an A. He's probably in the 90 percentile. I'd give him an A+. But as a great reformer, as a Mount Rushmore president, it's yet to be determined. It's TBD right now, because in this hour, this is what America and the West needs. These are great stakes. We're moving into a technological revolution unlike any that we've seen before, with AI, advanced robotics, biometrics, control grids, central banking, digital currencies, implant technologies, micro robots that are in your bloodstream. I mean, unbelievable space technology. We are in the midst of a whole new world. A whole new world is being born right now, and we're in the birth pangs of it. And so if we move into that world where the globalists, the leftists, the liberals, and the woke are in control of all of these systems, we understand deep down at a visceral level, we'll be in big trouble. We need to have the free world in control of these technologies moving forward so they can bring peace, prosperity, justice in the next era for the human race. That's really what we're looking for. That's what the battle is right now.
Well, and obviously you're against personally the implant thing, if we want to go into a faith discussion quickly, because it sounds like what you're talking about is mark of the beast stuff and Jesus returning, you know what I mean? But I hear what you're saying, that the AI robotics, technocratic type of thing is happening. Just your comments to that, and then I want to get back to something you said just prior to.
Well, I mean, every technology can be used for good or evil. Right? I mean, nuclear technology can be used to create unbelievable cheap energy, or it can be used to destroy cities. It's the people that are using the technology that's evil. I mean, implants can be a wonderful thing for brain diseases, paraplegics, things of that nature, the blind, the deaf. They can be incredible technologies, or they can be used for evil to track and surveil your population and control them, or control their minds. And so it just depends on who's in charge and who's controlling these systems. And I mean, the globalists, they write books about this, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the Great Reset. I mean, they have been planning this for decades and just waiting for the R&D labs and the tech industries to evolve these technologies into the point where they can be weaponized for control. And so this is a big threat, and I think Americans sense this on a visceral level. You know, we're seeing the dawn of AI on our smartphones, and we're seeing little hints of what the robotic era is going to look like with autonomous vehicles and these initial bipedal and quadrupedal robots that we're seeing, you know, in little videos and commercials and ads and things like that. But it's going to proliferate. And we're moving into a new era. And so the time is now. I mean, we are at this, this dangerous hour, and it calls for a great leader. And so Trump, this is really his opportunity to step into those footsteps and become that great leader and do the work that it'll take, just like Lincoln did, Roosevelt did in their hour. So when the time had come.
So when we look at the 20 core promises and we take a microscope to some of President Trump's speeches, the words about the deep state, the words about globalists, you heard dismantle, he said obliterate. He also, within the 20 core promises, number 7, to defend the Constitution. Number 9, to end weaponization against the people. So all of the right messaging and words are there. It's not like President Trump is ignorant. Of course he's not ignorant to the fact that there's a deep state. Look what he went through over the past several years, right? And what we, the people, have gone through. So are you saying right now it's like, okay, we have all of the context needed, and now what would be next would be, you were mentioning something about prosecutorial power. And I read something deeper within some laws there. And a law firm was saying that President Trump's attorneys are saying, yes, the president has prosecutorial power when it comes to criminal investigations. So are you saying that obviously he can't charge somebody with something, can he? I mean, he has to go through the DOJ and all that, no? How does that work?
Well, he also doesn't go over to the Middle East and drop the bombs. He doesn't fly over in the plane and press the button and drop the bomb, does he? No, but he is the head, he is the leader of the military. It's just like he is the head or leader of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and what have you. Ultimately, they report up to the White House, the executive branch. And so that's his article power from the Constitution, is to be the primary, the head official, head law enforcement official, both the top cop and, in essence, symbolically, the top prosecutor. Jefferson called the president the chief magistrate, which was an old English term for the CEO of the country. But yes, he is in charge of all the prosecutors, therefore he's the chief prosecutor. Though he wouldn't actually go out and prosecute anyone himself, his underlings would.
Right, and so I remember him saying one time something like, not being a chief cop, but he's the chief law enforcement officer.
True, exactly, that's true.
Okay, so let's switch gears now. If you're just joining us, we're monitoring a lot of different stories out there, the 24/7 news cycle, even on this Monday, August 4th, at high speed, just like any day, because of what you're saying, TS. I mean, I agree with you that there is an urgency to get things taken care of when it comes to those that have broken the law. But let's shift over to a bit more of the globalist structure and central banking, the cartel there, and how that plays into the interest rate battle between President Trump and the Fed chair.
Yeah, we're at like a confluence of history. It's incredible. The last time that a president went to battle with an American central bank was Andrew Jackson in the mid-1800s, and he actually liberated America from the third central bank in our history. We're on our fourth now, and he ended their charter, freeing America from European banker control, which then immediately we had a civil war right after with Abraham Lincoln. And Lincoln was able to issue what they call greenbacks, which were federal government notes, not Federal Reserve notes, which is what we have today. And he issued these and was able to finance the Civil War using that, where he was issuing currency. In 1913, under Woodrow Wilson, they snuck in a bill on Christmas Eve in the Senate, while most of the Senate were on vacation, to give us the fourth central bank of the United States, called the Federal Reserve. And what that did was institute a debt-based money system where no longer can the federal government issue banknotes like Lincoln had to, fund the war, but we would have to then sell treasuries to the bank or at the bond market. The bonds are just government debt, in order to get the cash from those sales and then fund the government that way. That's called a debt-based money system. What Andrew Jackson instituted and what Lincoln used was called a cash-based money system. And so we switched polarities. We've been on the debt-based system since 1913, and immediately they had to create the income tax to pay for the interest now that the federal government would owe. And this was the beginning of what is now the $37 trillion national debt, which didn't exist between the times of Andrew Jackson's end of his administration until Woodrow Wilson. There was no such thing as a national debt because the government could issue currency.
Exactly. So what's the solution from there then?
So now it's interesting because you have Trump, who's really always seen himself as an Andrew Jackson style president, like a gunslinger, a wild man. And so but the main thing that he did was he went head to head and locked horns with the Fed, the federal bank, the central bank at that time. And so you see now he's locking horns with Jerome Powell again over these interest rates. Now, interest rates predominantly affects the real estate market and the housing market, which is one of the primary engines of the economy that can drive economic activity and wealth creation. And so when the market is used to a 0 to no percent interest rate, and we were in that for over a decade. And so that's why people, even at this 4, 5, 6% prime rate, they're not buying houses, right? It's slowed down. And so Trump is trying to crank that housing engine back on to help with his economic recovery, and they won't budge. They don't want to help Trump at all. And their argument is typically the inflation rate, right? Because the rationale is that they're trying to control the inflation rate. So if inflation goes up, they're going to raise interest rates, and if inflation goes down, they'll lower them again. And so Trump is saying, well, the inflation's back down. Why aren't you lowering them? Europe's lowered theirs. The other banks have lowered theirs. Why isn't America's bank lowering ours? And they're saying, well, we're just not going to. We met again, we're not going to. Really, what he's scratching there is the tip of the iceberg. The central bank is the Supreme Court just ruled on this. They call them a quasi-private agency of the government. So even the Supreme Court knows and says publicly that the bank is privately owned. And so the way that the Federal Reserve Act and then the Reform Act later was set up is that the commercial banks in the different districts where the Fed has its different banking districts, they are shareholders and owners of those regional Fed banks. So in other words, if a hedge fund or an asset management company or rich individual, rich family buys some of these commercial banks, these large banks, they now own and control the policies of the regional Federal Reserve Bank. In other words, imagine if the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies were shareholders in the CDC, the NIH, right, or the Department of Health and Human Services. Imagine if they were shareholders, right? They could set policy where, in essence, until RFK's come in, they weren't official shareholders, but they were basically bribing and yet institutional capture. In our banking industry, the businesses control the government agency, the quasi-private government agency that sets interest rates, sets banking policy, sets lending practices for the rest of all the banks. And since we've had this, it has been a disaster for our country. They have instituted policies that bankrupt and destroy smaller banks so they can gobble them up and consolidate them or go to war with rival banks. And the aftermath or in the wake of this has been just economic destruction for everyday Americans. We saw this in the Great Depression, where they destroyed over 10,000 smaller banks and then consolidated them. And then since then, they've destroyed over 15,000 smaller banks. And so it is insane to have the fox guarding the hen house. And this is a much deeper issue than people realize. And this amount of power and wealth over the banking, the financial system, is the core economic and governmental power. If you control the currency, the money, and can do things like this, then basically you can then control the hedge funds, you can control the asset management companies. you can control Wall Street, and then you can control the corporations. It's an amazing amount of centralized power in the hands of a few, and yet we're arguing over this interest rate where it should be showing the public that this bank, this central bank, does not answer to the president. And the president is the people. He's the representative of the people. They answer to their shareholders, which are the owners, the families that own, and the hedge funds, asset management companies that own the commercial banks. And so that is, when I say it's a central banking cartel or a central banking monopoly, set of monopolies, that's what it is. And the ideology of globalism, which I cover in my book, is the political religion of this group that has been basically ruling over us and holding us hostage. And that's why Trump was elected, to go head-to-head with these people. He is the new Lincoln. He is the new Andrew Jackson. I know that was a long explanation, but
no, that's totally great. It's good. And I was tracking with you. So the question is, what does it take to, if it were to happen, isn't it an act of Congress to end the Fed? But then also, if that were to happen, what kind of vacuum, what would be missing? What would we need to do to be able to keep things going?
Well, I wouldn't end the Fed. I would nationalize the Fed. And I would get rid of the quasi-private ownership component that the Supreme Court just issued in one of their statements just a few weeks ago. So there's not a conspiracy theory that they are a private entity. Even the Supreme Court said in their official statement they're a quasi-private entity. They don't answer directly to the president. Well, that's insane that we would have any part of our federal government that doesn't answer directly to the orders of the president or the Congress. This is just wild to me. And so I think we should nationalize the Fed and amend the Federal Reserve Act to get rid of any sort of commercial bank ownership or appointments, and that the power over the board of governors and directors and the chairman is fully under the power of the president, who he can hire, fire, replace at will, and that the power to control the interest rate should be a combined vested power of the White House and a select committee of Congress, a finance banking committee of Congress. And so if you have an agreement between that committee and the White House, then you can have a change of interest rates, and the Board of Governors should oversee their banks, the currency management creation, and they should not be over economic policy or directed windowed banking policy. This is how we're getting these bubbles and bursts and booms and busts. I mean, it's bad for the economy. It's bad for the everyday working citizen, but it's good for these ultra wealthy elites.
Okay, so the Fed is a part of the globalist structure arm, no?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. That's their vector point of control, their primary vector point of control. Absolutely. If you go back and read the speeches of Andrew Jackson when he was excoriating the third central bank in the United States, he was talking about how they were European foreign owned, how we had foreign entities owning the United States of America, and this was unacceptable. They were setting policies in their interest to make them rich by impoverishing Americans. And he had the support of the people to undo and cancel the charter of that bank. The bank only has power because Congress issued them a charter and Woodrow Wilson signed it. If Congress amends, we can easily amend with one act of Congress. We can amend the Federal Reserve Act. If the president signs it, their power is over. It's a swipe of a pen and their power is gone. And what I believe we should do is return to a cash-based financial system and get rid of this debt-based system. There's no need to have a federal debt. It's insane to have one in the first place. It just allows for a bond market for people to make money off of the taxpayer dime. You know, we're paying all the interest payments with our tax money.
I'm going to put you on the spot here for the golden nuggets you've been sharing with us. I'm not going to lead you in on any question. Pick a topic. Please share with us your thoughts on if there's something you're passionate about right now. I mean, we really are seeing a very historic time for our country here in 2025.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible time. It's an incredible hour, whether people are aware of it or not. And I just am very optimistic for America, for the West. It's a great civilization, great culture, great people, and I think it will continue on and do well and thrive. But, you know, as happens, you know, we're just being challenged. We're being challenged by an aggressor, a tyrant, as we have in the past, but Western people have always risen to the occasion during these events and have come out better than they were before. So I'm very optimistic in this time, and it's a very exciting time. But it's a very confusing time because they're not out in the open. They have to operate in secrecy and covertly, but you have things like this $3.1 billion Federal Reserve Bank renovation where Trump goes on the tour with Jerome Powell and just clowns him, and points out his lies and his arrogance on camera. It's really fascinating. But that's really the tip of the globalist spear, is that bank. And no, I don't think we should do anything drastic like get rid of the bank. I mean, they manage our money system. It's good infrastructure. But we should take the bank back over. It should report and be wholly a federal institution. We should nationalize the bank completely, get rid of the shareholding structure, and get rid of the debt-based system and have a cash-based money supply. Absolutely. We will be so wealthy if Trump does that. Golden era doesn't describe it. It'd be a diamond platinum era, something we haven't seen before. That's how wealthy the country would become.
And then that's on the wealth front. And then keeping the reforms cemented and locked in would happen outside of these 4 years through or via the DOJ, FBI, and arresting those that have broken the law, right?
Cleaning house, absolutely. Cleaning house, getting the radicals out of leadership at these agencies, these institutions, and then punishing crime. Showing that no one is above the law, even if you're a Marxist infiltrator, even if you're a globalist agent, you're not above the law. That will deter a lot of this behavior going into the future. Absolutely. If we have real justice, if we don't have corruption, bribery, and blackmail as the order of the day, but we have actual truth, justice, and liberty in America for justice for all, not just for the lower classes, but justice for the upper classes.
Exactly. Truth, justice, and the American way. T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author. Thanks so much for joining us. How can people find you out there on the online sphere, as you call it?
They can find me on tsdixon.com, and then my book, The Woke Mind Viruses, that covers all of this, is on Amazon, or the audiobooks on Audible and Apple Books.
All right, T.S., thank you so much again for joining us on Right Side.
Thanks, Matt.
Definitely. All right, so approaching the top of the hour here on this Monday, August 4th, right here on RSBN Live. So 3 minutes from 11 o'clock. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. We've been on the air since 10 a.m. We're going to be on the air for a couple more hours. We have another guest coming up at about 11:30 this morning. This as we monitor the 24/7 news cycle. We're seeing all sorts of content on social media, on X, and on Truth Social when it comes to our government. We'll play some videos for you in just a minute. In the meantime, let's go to President Trump's latest post. I believe this is the latest post. Guys, is the Sydney Sweeney one the latest one still? Okay, we believe that is the latest one. So why don't we go to that from President Trump as the next guest at 11:30, Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center. She's going to talk about this story too, the Sydney Sweeney ad, but also some other things when it comes to Gaza and the like. So that'll be at about 11:30. But let's go to President Trump's latest post. Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are flying off the shelves. Go get them, Sydney. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement that is a total disaster, the president says. The CEO just resigned in disgrace, and the company is in absolute turmoil. Who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short campaign the company? The market cap destruction has been unprecedented, with billions of dollars so foolishly lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was by saying on Truth that I can't stand her, hate, the word is what President Trump used there in parentheses, she was booed out of the Super Bowl and became no longer hot. The tide has seriously turned. Being woke is for losers. Being Republican is what you want to be. Thank you for your attention to this matter. End quote from DJT. It's 10:59, Monday, August 4th. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interviewed the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back to RSBN Live. It looks like President Trump has truth. Some more posts there. So there's a few of them there. Elizabeth Warren is a loser. She lies about everything, including the fact that she is an Indian. She's not. She's no Pocahontas, the president says. And then he also says, in just 6 months, I cut costs, especially energy and taxes, tremendously. The president says Elizabeth, quote unquote, Pocahontas Warren on CNBC said costs have gone up. She's just angry that I blew up her terrible presidential campaign. Call her out, the president says. That was about 30 minutes ago on Truth Social. Thanks, guys, for getting that Truth Social post up there. As we are at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock, 11:01 on the East Coast. This is August 4th, Monday. Hopefully you had a great weekend. If you're just joining us now, we've been on the air since about 10 o'clock. Solid interview just a minute ago if you want to check that out, maybe on the replay a little bit later. As of right now, the president has no public events in his schedule. So right now there's no press conferences or executive order signings or any announcements that we see at this point. If we see it, we'll be sure to share that with you. All right, let's go to, Director, did you say a sponsor? Okay, let's go to more of President Trump's Truth Social. India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchased, selling it on the open market for big profits. The president says they don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. Because of this, I will be substantially raising the tariff paid by India to the USA. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT. So that just from moments ago as well. So President Trump, that's the latest, the freshest post from the president on Truth Social. If you're following us on Truth, it's at RSBN. If you're following us on X, it's at RSB Network. You can also follow us all over the place. Rumble, a great spot to follow us. YouTube, of course. Facebook, Getter, there's so many different places. All right, let's go to a number of our sponsors right now as it's 11:02 a.m. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Of course, medical freedom starts with access, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy delivers. They're changing the way people get their medications. So there's no insurance needed, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door. Because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be complicated, of course. So All Family Pharmacy makes it simple in just 3 easy steps. First, you go to the website. You pick out the medications that you would need online there. The number 2 part of it is a licensed doctor reviews your order and writes the prescription. Number 3, your medications are shipped directly to your door. So very easy 1, 2, 3 step there. They carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 more medications. So also, what's included is the doctor's prescription. So you can take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10 to save 10%. Let's also go to one of our newest sponsors here, and I love this one too, because you know what? Having a good, clean tasting water is one of the things that I like to have. I don't drink out of the tap. I don't know if you do. But I'm not drinking out of the tap. I'd rather drink out of something like this here. So we know that Utah and Florida just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the past 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr., of course, has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride actually is linked to lower IQ. In a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals, scientists found that fluoride levels of more than 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2% drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. Their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't actual water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, that gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure Water, you're never going back because it makes your water taste so good. The best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm, it couldn't be easier. If you happen to like fluoride, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash. The government, of course, Cove Pure saying here, should never force you to ingest it. Of course not. So take back your right to choose. Click below on the link on wherever you're watching right now, or go to covepure.com/RSBN. For a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. So great sponsor here. Drink pure, live pure. Great sponsor on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so we see outside of the White House there, that's that stakeout camera location. That is the front lawn of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Right behind that area is the West Wing. That's where the world leaders usually pull up. The president greets them. They go into the Oval Office, and we have covered that how many times here at Right Side, right? So we've covered it probably, I don't know, 15 world leaders in the past 6+ months, 7 months since President Trump's been in office. So if we see any more announcements about something like that this week, we'll bring it to you. Also, if we see any announcements of a press conference from Carolyn Levitt, obviously we'll have that for you here. So basically what happens is it is kind of like Christmas. I've heard that, some people saying that when it comes to President Trump and the administration, what's going to happen today? Well, that's kind of what we see in the media for those of us that care about our country. The mainstream media, if they really cared about our country, would they be lying as much as they do? So anyway, we get the public schedule here at the network, just like any network does, at about 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So in that 3 hours each night, we'll get the public schedule for the next day. What we received today, or last night for today, there are no public events, no press conferences or anything as of right now listed. The president will be meeting with the vice president for lunch today. That's something I believe is a weekly occurrence. So that's really the only thing on the schedule. In the meantime, we'll have another interview coming up at about 11:30. Let's go to President Trump. Excuse me, a lot of talking today. Let's go to President Trump from just yesterday. I believe we have about a 12-minute press gaggle where President Trump was on his way from Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's the airport that's near Bedminster, on the way back to the White House. Let's take a look.
Okay, thank you very much. We had a very good weekend in many respects. We're seeing phenomenal numbers in terms of the business we do with other countries and the business we do within our own country. I mean, really phenomenal numbers. We'll be announcing a new statistician sometime over the next 3-4 days. We had no confidence. I mean, the numbers were ridiculous, what she announced, but that was just one negative number. All of the numbers seem to be great. And so we'll see how that comes out. And if you remember, just before the election, this woman came out with these phenomenal numbers on Biden's economy. Phenomenal numbers. And then right after the election, they announced that those numbers were wrong. And that's what they did the other day. So it's a scam, in my opinion. My opinion is it's just additional scam.
On Russia, Mr. President, can you say, have those nuclear submarines been deployed yet to face Russia?
I've already put out a statement, and the answer is they are in the region, where they have to be.
Is what Steve Witkoff's message will be to the Russians? Is there anything they can do to avoid sanctions at this point?
Get a deal where people stop getting killed. They had a number that just came out that a tremendous number of Russian soldiers are being killed. And likewise, Ukraine, a lower number, but still thousands and thousands of people. And now we're adding towns where they're being hit by missiles. So it's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war. And, we stopped We stopped a lot of countries from war, India and Pakistan. We stopped a lot of countries. And we're going to get that one stopped too. Somehow we're going to get that one stopped. That's a really horrible war. You heard about Cambodia and Thailand. We got that one done. We got the Congo, which was going on for 31 years. Rwanda, that one's done. We stopped a lot of wars. This is the one we seem to be, this should be the easiest to stop, and it's not. I mean, Rwanda and Congo were going on 31 years, and I got it stopped. 8 million people dead, at least. That's what they have, but I think the number's much higher. And the leaders of each country, Rwanda and the Congo, they were great. They were great, and they wanted it stopped. 31 years it went on. We stopped a lot of wars. Serbia, Kosovo was going to be happening, and I don't believe it will now, so we stopped that one too. Yes.
You said you had more of an update to give us on Gaza, on the Gaza trip. Can you give us anything now?
We want the people fed, and we're the only country that's really doing that. We're putting up money to get the people fed, and Steve Witkoff is doing a great job, and we want Israel to get them fed. We're giving some pretty big contributions, basically to purchase food so the people can be fed. We don't want people going hungry, and we don't want people to starve, and there's some bad things happening.
Do they see evidence of a genocide in Gaza?
I don't think it's that. Look, they're in a war. Some horrible things happened on October 7th, as you know. It was a horrible, horrible thing. One of the worst I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of bad things since I'm president in terms of wars and potential wars. I mean, if you look at the one that we just stopped, they had thousands of people being dead already at the border between Thailand and Cambodia. Thousands of people. And I mean, I've seen some bad things, but that October 7th with Hamas was really, really bad.
Mr. President, can you give us an update on Steve Witkoff in Russia, and what happens on Friday if the deadline comes and Russia has not agreed to a ceasefire?
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, what advice do you have for Republicans on Capitol Hill heading into midterms? What do they need to do? What can they do to, hold world
One of the things they're going to be talking about pretty soon are the tremendous drop in drug prices. You know, we've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%. I don't mean 50%, I mean 1,500%. Because we're going favored nations. We want the same prices Europe gets. We want the same prices other country gets. And over the years, 25, 30 years ago, it started where they were charging us much more. And I put an end to it, with a letter that you saw last week. So I think that's going to be a point. I don't know how anybody could win an election if they're on the other side of that issue. So we'll be dropping drug prices. It'll start over the next 2 to 3 months by 1,200, 1,300, and even 1,400% and 500%, but not just 50% or 25%, which normally would be a lot, because the rest of the world pays much less for the identical drug, and we're going to be paying the same thing. We're going to have a favored nations. We will pay as low as the lowest nation in the world.
And then, Mr. President, I think it just came out, $29 billion in July taken in tariff revenue. Could we see a potential rebate here, and what would that look like, and who would qualify?
Well, we're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money coming in, much more money than the country's ever seen, by hundreds of billions of dollars. And there could be a distribution or a dividend to the people of our country. I would say for people that would be middle-income people and lower-income people, we could do a dividend. But one of the things we're going to be doing is reducing debt. But we have hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our country now. We should have done this many years ago. And I did it in my first term with China. We didn't get to the rest because COVID hit. And you couldn't really go to France and Spain and Italy and say, let's start talking about some tariffs. But China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we did it then. And then Biden screwed it all up. He screwed everything he touched, he screwed up. So, thank you.
Mr. President, will you endorse Winsome Earl Sears in the Virginia governor's race?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would. I think probably she's got a tough race. She shouldn't have, but because the candidate she's running against is not very good. But I think she's got a tough race. But I would, yeah.
When will you swear in Janine Pirro to be the U.S. Attorney for D.C.?
Swear in Janine Pirro, who's going to be fantastic at what she does in D.C. Over the next very short period of time. I think she's going to be fantastic. Don't forget, Janine Pirro was a great judge and a great prosecutor. And because she was so good, I was there. She was an amazing prosecutor and judge. And because she was so good, they drafted her into show business. And she did fantastic. You know, The Five was the #1 show, et cetera, et cetera. Janine Pirro was also really good at that. But her real love is exactly what she's doing. And that's what made her such a success in show business. So Janine Pirro is going to be amazing, and I'll swear her in as soon as we can swear her in. We need her. She's going to be amazing.
Mr. President, are you happy with how the Rose Garden turned out? And will you have some kind of event? The Rose Garden, are you happy with how it turned out?
Great reviews on the Rose Garden, and we had to do it. As an example, when we had a press conference, you'd sink into the mud. You know, it was grass, and it was very wet, always wet, damp, but wet. And if it rained, it would take 3, 4, 5 days for it to dry out. And we couldn't use it for really the intended purpose. So whether they had events or they had news conferences, we couldn't use it. And it's a beautiful white stone, and it's a stone that's the same color as the White House itself. And because it's very white, it's going to reflect the heat. It's not going to be very hot, like if you had a dark stone. So, yeah, we've gotten great reviews on the Rose Garden.
Any update on the search for the Federal Reserve Board? Have you been interviewing candidates?
No, I have a couple of people in mind. I'll be announcing somebody for the filling of the person that left. A woman left, as you know, who was I guess a Biden appointment, either Biden or Obama, but I think a Biden appointment. And she left early, and I think she left because she agreed with me on interest rates, and yet they were on the other side of the ballpark, right? So I'll be announcing that probably over the next couple of days.
Okay. Mr. President, one more on tariffs here. As you continue to, pile up these trade deals, are you kind of gaining more leverage over countries that haven't come out, made a deal?
I'm not looking for leverage. I'm looking for fairness. We want reciprocal as much as possible. Sometimes reciprocal would be too much for them to handle because it would be a much bigger number. But we want to see some reciprocity. We want to see reciprocal wherever we can. And all I can say is this: our country will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. You just said it. Already we're taking in, billions and billions of dollars. And it was very unfair. The world treated us very unfair. But the next big move is going to be the price of drugs. Because you could buy something in London or in Germany, someplace in Germany, or many countries where it's 1/10, 1/3, 1/4, but sometimes 1/10 the price of what it costs to buy it in New York or some other place. And we're not doing that anymore. We're not allowing that anymore. That started many years ago when people were asleep at the wheel in this country, and they allowed that to happen, and I'm stopping it.
I'm a UN ambassador. Will that still be a cabinet level position, sir, or not?
I don't know. I haven't determined that yet. That's a good question. I'll make a decision. He's a very good guy, but I'll make a decision.
Mr. President, what is your relationship with Laura Loomer? What kind of influence with Laura Loomer? What kind of influence does she have in the White House?
She's very nice. I mean, I know she's known as a radical right, but I think Laura Loomer is a very nice person. I've known her for a long time. And, personally, I think she's a patriot. And she gets excited because of the fact that she's a patriot. And she doesn't like things going on that she thinks are bad for the country. I like her.
Mr. President, actress Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
Who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so you just heard it there. That was from within that 24/7 news cycle. President Trump speaking to the press just yesterday for about 12 minutes or so, as he's back there, of course, at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's 11:19 this morning. We'll be talking more about Sydney Sweeney in a minute. Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center. We'll be talking about that and also a couple other topics that we're looking at internationally in just a minute. Let's go first to mypillow.com/RSBN. If you saw, Mike Lindell was on the broadcast. I believe it was on Friday. Yeah, on Friday he was here with us live for about 25 minutes, just talking about a whole slew of great things when it comes to our country. Also, speaking of great, mypillow.com/RSBN. You can use that RSBN promo code, get that free shipping. Also, more than 2,000 products to choose from right there on mypillow.com/RSBN. Longtime sponsor, longtime friend of the network, Mike Lindell and mypillow.com. Speaking of our network, if you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. Also, for those that would like to send cash or check, we heard that a number of people want to send checks. That's cool. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, so it's 11:21 this morning. Let's go now to a few other videos we're seeing within the 24/7 news cycle within our government. One would be from the Department of Agriculture, I believe the USDA. Let me double check on the latest on that. Yep, this is from Secretary Brooke Rollins. So let's take a look at that.
Hey everyone, here we are on the rooftop at USDA with this month's actions. We've been very, very busy here, but we're going to show you a couple of the highlights from the last month. So here we go. Number one, monthly action, the president's incredible trade deals, especially for American farmers and ranchers. Back-to-back wins for our ranchers and our farmers and all of our ag producers, thanks to President Trump's leadership. New trade deals with Japan, the Philippines, and Indonesia. More coming with the EU, China, and others. Obviously, the Australian beef opening market for the first time in 20 plus years. Unbelievable and unprecedented. He is unlocking billions in exports and delivering real market access for our beef, our poultry, our dairy, our soybeans, and so much more. We are knocking down barriers, eliminating tariffs, and creating wide open access for American farmers. This isn't just big, it is historic, and it is unprecedented. Action number two, alongside Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Noem, and Attorney General Bondi, along with three of our country's best governors and leaders from the Hill, we at USDA launched a historic plan that elevates American agriculture as a key element of our national security and addresses urgent threats from foreign adversaries. We will never let foreign adversaries control our land, our labs, or our livelihoods, because farm security is national security. This action plan puts America's farmers, families, and future first, exactly where they belong. Action number three, America at 250. President Trump held a massive kickoff and celebration on the eve of Independence Day at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, where he launched the year-long Great American State Fair in celebration of America's 250th birthday. This is an incredible celebration and putting agriculture, our farmers, and our ranchers at the center. The launch of the celebration is such a huge shout out to all of our incredible ag community. And we're just so grateful to President Trump for putting ag first. The celebration will culminate with a festival on the National Mall on July 4th, 2026. And what a joy it was to join the president on stage to help kick off this celebration in the heartland of America. Action number four, we announced our reorganization of the U.S. Department of Agriculture and specifically what we are going to be doing with our headquarters in Washington, D.C. We will be moving thousands of our employees out into the country to get closer to our constituents, whether that's farmers, ranchers, or even the American taxpayer. So Raleigh, North Carolina, Kansas City, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Salt Lake City, Utah, very soon to house regional headquarters for our USDA team. Within that reorganization, we will also be vacating many of our buildings and office spaces in Washington to again provide a better, more efficient, and more effective USDA for all of America. Action number 5, I was so proud to stand with my friend HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy and also our wonderful FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary as the International Dairy Foods Association announced their commitment to get artificial colors out of ice cream made with real milk and sold at retail stores by the end of 2027. This voluntary, proactive effort on the part of our country's ice cream producers is a major step toward making America healthy again, and USDA is playing such an active role in that effort. Action number 6, the devastation in Texas, my home state. But when disaster strikes, our mission at USDA is clear. Respond swiftly, stand with impacted communities, and help them rebuild. Texas, again, is my home and my heart, and these floods hit so close. USDA has moved quickly alongside our partners across the federal government and the state government and the local government to expedite federal disaster assistance. Food aid, housing support, and emergency resources are being deployed to ensure that our families in Central Texas get what they need and get it when they need it. Action number 7, we announced a new and unprecedented food safety plan for America, opening up a beautiful new food safety facility just this month in Missouri, where we made the case to America what we will do to continue to ensure that our food supply is safe for all of our families in this great country. Number 8, USDA never sleeps. We are continuing to move out at record time. First, the $16 billion in the Supplemental Disaster Relief Program had over 21,000 applications approved. On the ECAP program, almost $8 billion has been distributed and will continue to be so. This month, we approved block grants in record time, the first to the great state of Florida, $676 million. A lot of that to our citrus growers in South Florida, but across the great state. And just recently announced $61 million for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Continue to be so grateful to our USDA team for getting this funding out in record time. That's a wrap on July. August, here we come.
Hey everyone, this is Brooke Rollins with one of my best friends, the amazing Kelly Loeffler, our small business administrator. We are at the first ever Great American Farmers Market, celebrating farmers, celebrating ranchers, celebrating great American agriculture, and honestly, everything that President Trump has done to put farmers first, who are really the ultimate small business owners, right, Kelly?
Absolutely, Brooke. This is amazing. It's National Farmers Market Week. This is incredible. There's amazing, beautiful produce, snacks, little cattle you can pet, great big tractors you can see. It's a great week.
We're packed out here. There are thousands of people, but tonight is just the first night. So it's Sunday night. We go here all the way through Friday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Amazing Maha Monday to Faith and Fellowship Tuesday to America the Beautiful Wednesday. Family on Friday with Charlotte's Web showing right here on the mall. Come celebrate America. Come celebrate American farmers and ranchers. Let's keep this going.
And I heard that John Rich, the country artist, was playing at the Great American Farmers Market there in at the National Mall in D.C. just yesterday. That would have been quite the concert to go to. I've seen John Rich perform in Nashville before, so always fun to see him. A great patriot, of course. Speaking of great patriots, let's go to Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center. Brooke, Justine, well, do you go by Brooke ever, or is it Justine usually?
My first name is Justine. Brooke is my middle name. I threw it in to make it sound like a stage name because I used to do theater.
Awesome. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Let's just dive right into a couple topics. Of course, we'll get into the Sydney Sweeney stuff in a bit, and also very important stuff in Gaza. Speaking of important, let's go to Germany as well when it comes to 84%. I saw this on disclosed.tv, that 84% of Germans believe that there are people in the country who don't express their opinions because they fear the consequences, according to a new INSA survey. And I know in the pre-interview when we were talking on text, we were talking about this freedom of expression, so important, not only to our country, but to the world.
Of course, and it's so fitting for Germany. In the name of progressivism, they've reverted back to their old ways. Nazi Germany, it started with stopping people from speaking, with censorship. People don't realize that. And, we just saw this clip of this German politician trying to lecture people here in America that, we should believe in free speech, except if you disagree with them, except if you disagree with the German governing authorities.
Yeah, it's so wild to see that. And then I saw something out of the UK as well, this online safety act that they're doing. But they can call it safety all they want. It comes down to, are you going to be censoring regular freedom of expression? Nothing with violence, nothing with like that kind of thing. But I'm just talking about if they say, I don't like Keir Starmer, like, are they going to get a knock at the door? I mean, it's getting wild. We don't want that to happen in this United States of America.
And that's exactly what happens once you start censoring certain beliefs, or you say, oh, well, we can deem this as an incitement to violence. It opens the door for everyone else to get censored. And this is why we have the First Amendment in America. A lot of people don't understand, or they can't distinguish between America and every other so-called democratic republic. America is the one country where we actually have a document that says we have the right to speak. Germany, they don't have that. These other European countries, they don't have that. And we see the repercussions from that.
And that's almost the tip of the iceberg. If they want to control your speech, what else do they want to control? How much do they want to bring in a deep state or globalist movement? How much do they want to be a dictator style thing of where the people are just controlled by the government, right? Like, that is a telltale sign. If you're trying to control speech, you're trying to control the whole thing, right?
Exactly. It's thought control. And this has been tried and done again throughout every authoritarian regime throughout history. They always say, oh, it's for your safety. Oh, it's for your safety from differing opinions, safety from dissent. And sometimes, most of the time, it's really, they say it's for your safety. It's really for the government's safety. Their safety from being questioned, from people voting them out, from people realizing that they're not so perfect, that our overlords maybe shouldn't be in office. That's what Germany is actually doing. So when you have these politicians at the World Economic Forum saying, oh, well, we believe in free speech here, and he did it in his German accent. I can't remake it. I'm not good at that. But he go, oh, yes, we have free speech. Oh, just not if you're on the far right. Well, what's the far right? It's anybody who's their opposition.
Yeah, exactly. So they always like to name call. That's really all they have is to name call and try and say, oh, this guy's a dictator. This person's terrible. These are MAGA extremists. Ooh, actually, a MAGA extremist is someone that says, I love God, family, and country. What?
Oh, God forbid the heart. Uh-oh. You don't want any German authorities now knocking at your door.
It's just...
Let's start dressing.
Yeah, it's wild stuff. Let's shift over to some of the fake news. The New York Times. I like one person at the fake news, Doug Mills, the presidential photographer there, great person. He's always a good friend of President Trump and all that. And there might be some other people I like. I've never met everybody at the New York Times, but didn't they just release an apology about a photo out of Gaza? Can you talk to us about that?
Certainly. The New York Times, they popped up on their front page this picture of this so-called poor, starving child. Well, the child in Gaza, he had a health condition. If you look at pictures of his mother, his family members, everyone else, they're plump. They don't look like they're starving at all, but they used it as to peddle an age-old blood libel against the Jews. This is like the same type of blood libel, the blood libels you'd hear about, Jews poisoning the wells. This has gone back for thousands of years, and they were trying to say, oh, well, it's Israel's fault for not letting aid into Gaza, even though Hamas steals the aid, even though no other country, Israel and America are the only countries who help Gaza. So then you have these hostages, videos that Hamas shared of 2 hostages that they're keeping, that they're actually starving. And they look like Holocaust victims. Like, you can't even tell the difference. And you have one man, Avatar David. He's digging his own grave. They're forcing him to dig his own grave on camera, and the world just looks away. way, the New York Times, they barely even covered it. They just sat on the story, and then I looked it up online today. Oh, they had like one little piece that kind of briefly mentions, okay, yeah, there was a hostage video too. Knows this. At the end of the day, Hamas, they're the ones who filmed the video themselves. They know that they can put out the hostages, they can parade them out, they can parade their crimes and what they're doing to Jews, knowing that the New York Times will still do their bidding as the rest of the world looks away because it's okay. It's cool and hip and trendy to hate Jews. That's actually one of the few differences between the Nazis and Hamas, is that the Nazis actually felt like they had to cover up their crimes a little bit. Hamas knows that in a world that hates Jews, in a world where Jew hatred is promoted by the legacy media in the name of progress, they can actually parade out and applaud themselves publicly for what they're doing to Jews.
It's awful to see the New York Times just going along with the whole legacy media thing out there. A very, very difficult situation, of course, in Gaza. So many different aspects. We hear President Trump talk about it when it comes to making sure people are fed and things are taken care of there. I'm not going to dive way into that. That's a whole nother discussion. But to the point of you being from the Media Research Center as well, that they would take the New York Times, which is an article that you're going to see everywhere on Earth, you know, and I'm sure it's translated too in other languages. It's just the same old thing that the left does. Now, let's speak about that as well. Sydney Sweeney seems like she is a MAGA patriot. She's a registered Republican. She's out there at the firing range the other day, just firing off, I guess, a 9mm or something. And then the left-wing media went after her. What are your thoughts about this whole Sydney Sweeney thing? It still is a story people are talking about.
Well, the rotund army of nose rings just can't stand her. Look at Sydney Sweeney and look at everyone complaining about her. The people complaining about her, they all have the same kind of physique there. None of them are, that good looking. They all look pretty unfortunate. And that's the entire outrage boils down to that. Middle school mean girls who do not like to see a pretty girl on the screen. And part of it is anti-white bigotry. It's anti-white racism. You're allowed to have Black is Beautiful campaigns. You're allowed to have the BET network, an entire TV network where it's only for someone of the Black race. Like that's like it's dedicated to an entire race. Then you have the Academy Awards, which declare that they're going to ostracize films and directors. They're going to disqualify you from the running if you do not put X amount of DEI types on screen. But God forbid you have one beautiful white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's Nazi propaganda.
Exactly. And then you look at Bevelyn B. Williams, African-American. I just interviewed her the other day. She has this great movie out there called Pardon Me, the Bevelyn B. Williams story, okay? She's on camera saying things like, just because, she said, because I'm not acting like a typical, maybe how somebody else would act, but she said she's Black, she's conservative, she's pro-life, she's praying, And so the media keeps trying to just mess with all of the races. And it's kind of like, guys, we already see through that. You got to stop. I don't care if it's racism towards white, Black, or indifferent. My point is, it's what the left does. Don't they do it on a constant basis? They keep just trying to do it. And they try to create it, which also causes problems as well.
Of course, the party of coexistence. It's funny how the party of coexistence thinks that embracing one person's genes means we have to demonize the other. Like, we can't actually coexist and live together and recognize that there's beautiful people of all races. How we have to completely segregate and discriminate against people, to call the left racial Marxists, because they tee up one or two races. They say whites, well, they're on average too successful, and that means they're evil and they're bad and they're oppressive, and we need to discriminate against them. Oh, sounds a little bit familiar. Oh, a shadowy group of people, or one evil group or ethnicity running the world and having too much power and success. That really sounds very familiar to the same people they complain about, the Nazis, the same people they claim to be against. They certainly peddle Nazi propaganda.
When I looked at a video over the weekend, I'm not sure if you saw it, Justine, but I posted it on my True Social at Matthew Alvarez, and it was a Black guy and a white guy. The white guy's a veteran, the Black guy's maybe in his 30s, and an American flag on the front porch. This is from a Ring camera's perspective. The flag falls down. The white guy's a veteran. He's probably in his 80s or 90s. He walks over to the American flag. He's trying to like figure out what to do. He wants to try and fold it like military members do. I want to fold it to like the folds of honor. And the black man, he's in his 30s, walks over to the veteran. They together fold the flag, and then they put the flag down, and then you see the black guy and the white guy, and they put their arms around each other walking away from the scene, which is just simply that the flag dropped. But that's the kind of video that I love to promote. Why? It's on all cylinders. It's American patriotism. It's a veteran. It's old glory. We love our flag. It's a white person and a black person getting along because that's what most do. You know what I mean? Like it's just so anti-establishment media. So I'm like, man, I love Truth Social and I love posting these videos.
And I'm so glad you post them. It is beautiful. I love watching all your videos. But to see that is the perfect symbol of America right there in a nutshell. And the left wants to destroy that. They want blacks, they want all minorities to hate whites and vice versa. They want us to hate each other. And the biggest act of resistance that we can do is to love each other and to love this country together and to just laugh at the ugly, horrible, miserable people who are complaining about a 20-something-year-old white girl on a TV ad.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post. Justine, if you can stand by, I'm going to read this, and then we're going to throw to President Trump speaking about this just yesterday, the fact that Sydney Sweeney, according to the president, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are flying off the shelves. The president says, go get them, Sydney. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement that is a total disaster. The CEO just resigned in disgrace, and the company is in absolute turmoil. Who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short campaign the company? The president continues by saying the market cap destruction has been unprecedented, with billions and billions of dollars so foolishly lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was saying on Truth, that I can't stand her, President Trump saying hate, she was booed out of the Super Bowl and became no longer hot. The president continuing here saying the tide has seriously turned. Being woke is for losers. Being Republican is what you want to be. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Speaking of the president, let's go to that clip from just yesterday where he spoke about Sydney Sweeney as well.
Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
All right, so Justine Brooke Murray still with us from the Media Research Center. Justine, tell us just your story of why you do what you do. I mean, is it just a passion for the country? I mean, why do you really call out the legacy media like you do?
Well, the answer to hateful speech and to what the left would describe as misinformation is more speech, good and better speech. I've been a free speech advocate since I was very young. I was a political nerd at even 10 years old. But I love this country so much, and it's why I joined the Media Research Center, and why what we do here is we combat left-wing legacy media bias and all bias in the media, especially bias that says that America is evil and that pits us against each other, and that tells lies constantly about this president. And the same type of legacy media, same types of outlets who for an entire week screamed and complained about Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle campaign, but even all screaming and kvetching, her campaign still raised at least $400 million for American Eagle. So it just goes to show that woke is dead. But I at the Media Research Center, my favorite thing working here is to help combat that wokeness, is to make sure it's dead. It's to stomp on the wokeness just to make sure it's dead for sure. Yeah. And we really love what we do here.
No, it's awesome. And I think that's what conservative media does as a whole. I mean, all of the even single shows out there, the podcasts and things that we see. it really is, unifying, which is great to see that. The messaging of simplicity, the messaging of common sense, the messaging of God, family, country, and freedom, right? So it's great to see that. I want to talk about one more thing before I let you go. Let's talk about that when it comes to the media. We were on, I think, a good topic there when we were saying about the races, right? And it's like, I'd like to celebrate culture. I enjoy having food that are from people that may not look like me. You know what I mean? Like, I like Asian food. Am I a racist because I just said that? Like, let's celebrate Asian culture. Let's celebrate Mexican culture when it comes to the food there and other things. I mean, obviously, the border thing outside of that topic. But the point is, like, that's what you won't hear in mainstream media, right?
Of course not. You'll have headlines like what MSNBC did the other day saying, do we have a problem with white advertising or something? I basically paraphrased it, but they actually had a headline saying, is Sydney Sweeney, indicative of a problem with focusing whiteness or centering on whiteness? It's just disgusting. Can you imagine if they did that about any other race? Now, these are the types who claim, oh, they're the multicultural ones. Oh, they love all races. They're the same people on our campuses. On my college campus, we had a diversity floor. It was actually called a diversity floor. I was banned from it because I dressed up as Melania Trump for Halloween. Even though Melania Trump is very multicultural, she speaks 5 to 7 different languages. She's from an entirely different country. Oh, wait a minute, but diversity actually is a bad thing. They just want, one race, their own race, and it has to be like really,
I wish we can pull up this this archive video that we have in Atlanta when President Trump was doing a rally there. This was, I guess, last year. I was there live with another host, and there were people from all over the place that were going there in support of President Trump. It was awesome. White, black, Asian, Hispanic. I saw, I think somebody from Pakistan, Indian, like keep naming races. Ooh, named races. Am I right? Like, come on. Anyway, all of them were like, we want Trump in office. We don't want communism. We want freedom. I interviewed a guy from Sri Lanka at one of the events and saying, I came here with a number of my people and we were legal immigrants. We love the United States. I remember talking to somebody from Vietnam outside of a subway one day. He had a motorcycle that had the USA all over the motorcycle and Trump. And this is the thing that the left just doesn't want us to talk about. And that's part of being God's children. God made all of us. So it's like, why are y'all hating over there? Stop hating so much, Cory Booker style. Your thoughts about Cory Booker the other day on the Senate floor. How ridiculous was that?
Oh, God, not Spartacus. He's that outgrown
Did you say not Spartacus? That's awesome. Keep going, please.
Spartacus. He's an outgrown theater kid. It looks like he probably got like a B in English class. And he's like trying, he thinks he's Martin Luther King. He's like really trying to sound just so
Did
inspiring.
you see his eyes and his teeth? Like, dude, whoa. Is this your religion? Yes, it actually is his religion. Just like anybody that's an extremist on the left, that's their religion. They don't even want to believe in God. They don't want freedom. They don't want black and white to get along. They don't want it. And it's ridiculous. I can't believe anybody watches the mainstream media anymore.
Me neither. And yeah, Cory Booker, he needs to take a Xanax. He just needs to like sit down. But he said, in this one clip, he said, I represent New Jersey. No, you don't. No, you don't. You represent your elitist ilk. It sounds like he comes from some prep school. And he's trying really hard to be one of the people, but you're just not.
You're not.
Like most New Jerseyans just like are embarrassed by his annoying.
I just spoke with my all right, so my sister was born in Jersey, all right? You want to go New Jersey, New York? Let's go there. My dad born in Manhattan, my mom born in Brooklyn, my sister born in Jersey, I was born in Pennsylvania. The point is, I just talked to my mom and my cousins were headed to the beach up there in Jersey. So they're at the Jersey Shore. They're all talking Trump. They are like, hey, we want to see our country saved. We want people to be, arrested if they broke the law so our country could be, So that's New Jersey. So don't give me this stuff. And I've been to Newark. I've been to the Prudential Center to watch a New Jersey Devils hockey game. Not everybody there is like, yay, Cory Booker. Come on. So your point is, I love how you said that. You're just like, that he represents New Jersey. That was a laugh. I couldn't believe it. And then there were some memes and videos. I don't know if you've seen it, but these little babies, and they have their voices, and it looked like Cory Booker as a baby. I don't know. It was just funny. I don't know. I think conservative media and comedy is way better than what the left has. Anyway, your thoughts?
Exactly. Well, the left, they're the party that doesn't let anyone speak. And if everything's so offensive, then of course there's no room left for comedy. And comedy, of course, is always the first thing to go in authoritarian regimes. And the reason they don't like comedy and jokes is because there's always a kernel of truth. And a kernel of truth kind of it might represent something that the left is doing wrong, and they don't want any criticism of them whatsoever.
That's a great point.
That's why, yeah.
That's a great point. And you know, I'm a big fan of comedy. I'm a big fan of improv. I'm a big fan of these shows. I like watching that stuff. My wife is too. So watching, you know, whether it's even a roast. Roasts, I mean, they can get a little, you know, dark and a little bit, pushing the limits there. But I mean, President Trump back in the day, he was part of the roasts. I mean, he gets comedy, you know. And that's the thing. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, just to sum it up here, is what this country is founded on, you know? And we hope that not only for these 3.5 years, but into the future, that those that have broken the law within the deep state, or anybody that's connected to taking away the freedoms of this country, that have broken the law, and there's receipts and evidence, that they would be locked away. Let's just be honest. I think that's what people are saying out there, because if we don't do these things, in the future, are we going to be like what the UK is kind of flirting with right now? Are we going to do what Brazil's flirting with and doing? Are we going to even get close to China? Like and I'm not trying to act like the sky's falling all the time, but you know what? It might if we don't get everything done right. Am I right? Do you agree? Or do you think, oh, well, you're being like, you know, the weather forecast, they act like the hurricane's going to be a Cat 5 and it's like a tropical storm? Like, what's your assessment on what I'm talking about here?
It's true, though, and you're making a perfect point. It's better to come off as a little panicked than just to lay back and, oh, everything's fine. Let's, you know, let the jihadis in, burning flags in. Let's let these college students, you know, walk all over us. We've seen what has happened in all these different countries. You had the communist revolution in China. You had the Islamic revolution in Iran. And it always starts with these young kids who they do it in the name of freedom. They're hip and cool. But the rest of the world, the rest of their countries, they just stand there and they let it happen. They let their countries get taken over, conquered from within. And we have to remember at the end of the day, America, this is still a project. This is still the American experiment. And it had never been done before when we found our founding fathers founded this beautiful country. So unless we at all times act like, hey, there might not be a tomorrow for this country unless we were active and we continue fighting for our freedoms, then I have the same fears as you do.
Yeah.
We could evaporate in a second.
Right. And so when you say the word fight, it makes me think of that day, J13, you know, it makes me think of President Trump. And I still can't believe it to this day. You know, I was sitting here reporting on the attempt on his life, and all right, so we know he chose to go down. He didn't just fall down. He went down out of safety. Who wouldn't? But man, he gets back up there. You saw some of that blood on the side of his face, and he stopped the Secret Service, and he said, fight, fight, fight. And it's that passion, Justine, that I don't want to ever forget for our nation. That day, and he walked over, and I've watched all the different videos from different social media, and you hear people saying, we love you, President Trump, we're with you, and the place went nuts when he stood up. And he goes into the SUV, and he stands there, and he puts his one fist up one more time. That's the fighting spirit I'm talking about, because we have to have it. If we don't have it, we may lose even the ability to so-called fight for our freedoms in this country. We already were, as you know, facing that with Harris, and we would have had 50 times worse than what we had under Biden. So anyway, in closing, your thoughts just about that.
The attitude that we had the day President Trump was nearly assassinated, and also on 9/11, the day after 9/11, September 12th, we need to have that same attitude every single day, because we have to remember what we could lose. And we have to remember what, life is like everywhere else, what life is like in these countries that we were told were democracies, but they're not. And every single day they're inching closer, not just inching, they're on like a fast-paced track to becoming the Shakistans you see in the Middle East, and like China, and these nations that are just, the left wants to say everything's fascist. That's true fascism. And we have to look around us every day and go, we never want to be like them, and we will never be like them, because America's special. It
is, but I think you're touching on a good point, the fact of we can't fall asleep. We know that we have the right captain. We have the quarterback. We have the leader of the free world. We have the guy that stands for freedom and we the people, and President Donald J. Trump. He's the go-to guy. He has the cabinet members. We're going to go over some videos after this interview from some of the cabinet. But we don't want to sit there and be like, okay, well, he's got it. We the people are part of the team too. Just like if I think Tom Brady, Joe Montana, some of these great quarterbacks, right? So Donald Trump, a great quarterback. Well, if we are the line, or if we are running backs and wide receivers, for those of you that like sports out there, of course, college football is starting up soon. The NFL, it's already kicked off when it comes to the preseason. But if we all decide, okay, let's just go to the sidelines and chill out. Let's just let Donald Trump, the quarterback, just throw down the field. It's not going to work because the defense is going to sack the quarterback. So I was talking to this with a buddy of mine the other day. We can't fall asleep. Your thoughts?
You've said it perfectly. We can't just sit back and think, well, President Trump's the captain, so we might as well just not do anything else. As America, we're a team. Not to sound collectivist like the left, but we are a team. Our liberties in our country is in the hands of each and every one of us. And what we're doing here at the Media Research Center is fighting the propaganda war.
Exactly. And same here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Justine Brooke Murray, thanks so much for your insight and all the topics you talked about today.
Thanks for having me back. It's great as always.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's just great to talk, just real talk, right? When it comes to, other American citizens. And you're looking live there outside the White House right now. It's about the top of the hour, coming up here in about 4 minutes. We have a number of videos to get to and a number of various topics to talk about. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Those of you sticking to what the latest, freshest news is, well, on Breaking 911, literally 57 seconds ago, Representative Jasmine Crockett says Donald Trump is a piece of shit. That's what Jasmine Crockett is saying. It's right there. It's specific. So that is what Jasmine Crockett is saying. I guess when you're woke and when you're brainwashed or possibly even evil, sometimes it's all three, sometimes it's just one or the other, you say things like that. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, all right, let's move on to someone who's doing a great job at the Housing and Urban Development. Scott Turner. I love Scott Turner. This guy, I like when he prays before cabinet meetings or prays before events. Let's go to a video from HUD right now.
So proud to be here to represent not only the president and this administration and my colleagues in the cabinet and our team from HUD. You know, at HUD, we talk about revitalization and bringing new life to communities around America. And as we stand here this morning, my heart is so encouraged and I'm very proud because this is action. This is results, not just words. To build affordable housing, single family, multifamily, to build a health clinic, a healthy food store in a neighborhood that many people through the years have written off. And under Reverend Ackerman's leadership and the whole of government in the city, the state, public-private partnerships, this is exactly what we mean when we talk about bringing people together to provide for the people of this great city here in Canton and around this region. I literally am all smiles because people matter in our country. Every American citizen matter. Where we're standing right now, from how I've been educated, used to be one of the worst spots in this neighborhood. Drugs, crime, prostitution. And now it's going to be almost 60 units of affordable housing to serve families in this precious community. Children will have a playground. Families will have a safe, clean, affordable place to call home, because this is actually what can be done around our country. And I wish all of America could see what's been going on here, and we aim to tell this story, because in our country, this is a model that I believe will be a great blessing for many generations to come. So thank y'all, God bless you.
Scott Turner right there with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Before we move on to a few more videos and also dive into some information about Brazil over the weekend, huge freedom protests there for freedom. We'll be going to Ricardo Martins in just a bit, but it's 12:01 Eastern. Let's go to Kalshi.com, great sponsor here at Right Side. So if you're looking to bet, trade, or even check out some polls on various topics, whether it's name a topic, sports, technology, weather, politics, faith, all sorts of stuff. And it gets down to some more specifics too, like who do you think will win that game or that kind of thing. So there are more than 1 million users on Kalshi, so you can get the app or you can go just to Kalshi.com/RSBN by using that QR code or just type it in if you'd like. Great sponsor here at Right Side. Angel Paste is one as well out of Spring, Texas. The Miracle Cream is their flagship product, but they also have a number of other products on angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. angelpaste.com. Experience the miracle of angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Again, they hire military veterans, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 2 minutes after 12 o'clock, so it's the afternoon on the East Coast. For the rest of us, still morning here on this Monday, August 4th. I do want to say one quick thing about school. Back in the day when I was, elementary school, middle school, high school, our summer breaks lasted until about the end of August or early September. Why our school? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm just asking. Why does school start so early these days? Like August 4th, 7th, whatever day? I'm confused by that. Can somebody tell me why? I don't know. My wife and I, we have a 9-month-old and are definitely thinking about homeschooling, but nothing against going to public school. I went to public school. It's fun, play sports and all that. But I remember summers going well into August. I don't know why they start so early these days. Anyway, I guess it's a rhetorical question because none of you are right here in studio to answer it. If you want, put it on the comments below. Maybe I'll be able to see a little bit of the read later. All right, let's skip now to a very sad story when it comes to illegal aliens. What happens, especially illegal criminal aliens in our country. There's a story that I believe this is from Rapid Response 47 from the White House in regards to a loved one that lost his life due to a drunk driver that was an illegal alien. So let's take a look.
Matthew was a very happy, joyous young man. He was an extrovert. Everybody loved Matthew. He was voted the most dependable in high school. Matthew wanted to be a police officer. He wanted a large family.
Yeah, he was just, a great human being, great son, great kid.
It's devastating losing your child. Your world stops. You feel like you're going to die from a broken heart. But then to find out that the person who took your child's life was in the country illegally, and this could have been prevented, it makes you angry. The person that killed Matthew had been in contact with police on a number of times for domestic violence. He assaulted a police officer, he assaulted a paramedic, and each time he only received a slap on the wrist and was released. So Matthew's death was totally preventable. And I'm just thrilled that that voice has been relaunched, and the people who need the services will be able to get them. So the Voice office will provide them with factual data and refer them to services and resources in their area. I, over the years, have known many victim families that utilize the resources of the Voice office and felt that it was very beneficial to them.
You need a voice to give true guidance. It'll be there for Americans impacted by crimes of illegal aliens. I would say thank you, President Trump, for keeping your word. And you're a warrior, a true warrior.
I have hope again for our country.
Obviously not difficult it's very difficult to watch that kind of stuff because we know what President Trump is about when it came to calling it a national emergency along the southern border. The wall's continuing to get built there. So we're seeing a lot of positives, but still we're thanking ICE to do what they have to do, is to deport illegal aliens, specifically criminal illegal aliens as well. And then people in that situation, again, the parents said it was a preventable crime. The person keeps getting out of jail after doing things that they should have been there longer. That's the same thing you see in some of the major cities. So, yeah, law and order. Looking forward to seeing all the wins with the president. And we see a lot of wins when it comes to the southern border. It's great to see images of the southern border wall finally being complete. So that's still happening, but that was part of that big, beautiful law there that we saw pass just about a month ago. So let's go now. Let's shift over to the Department of Homeland Security. This is the latest from DHS in Washington, D.C. Take a look.
This is Lauren Biss, Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. It's been a fantastic week at DHS, so let's get into it. This week, Secretary Noem traveled to Argentina, Chile, and Ecuador for bilateral meetings with world leaders. In Argentina, Secretary Noem met with President Javier Milei and signed a statement of intent with ministers to begin the process of rejoining the visa waiver program. DHS and Argentina will also share criminal history data, speeding up the removal of Argentine nationals in the U.S. illegally. In Chile, she met with foreign ministers and the Attorney General and signed a letter of intent to kickstart a biometric identification transnational migration alert program to better track criminals, terrorists, and dangerous individuals. In Ecuador, she met with President Daniel Noboa and signed an arrangement to better equip the Customs and Border Protection's National Targeting Center to identify and stop bad actors. Also this week, DHS launched a new ICE campaign to recruit brave Americans to join ICE federal law enforcement to remove the worst of the worst from America's streets. ICE is offering a robust package including up to $50,000 signing bonus, student loan repayment, enhanced retirement benefits, and more. For more information, visit join.ice.gov. Finally, Secretary Noem launched nationwide ads encouraging illegal aliens to go home the right way. and receive up to $1,000 and a free flight home using the CBP Home app. The ads are targeted toward all illegal aliens residing within the United States, and to ensure they are given the resources needed to take advantage of this incredibly generous opportunity granted to them by our government. Stay tuned for next week's update.
Okay, so we go from the Department of Homeland Security to the U.S. Department of the Interior. From the update from the standpoint of the big, beautiful law, let's take a look at that.
Under President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, oil and gas development on federal lands just got a major glow up. Royalty rates are back down to 12.5%, meaning more leases and more American-made energy. Quarterly lease sales will now be required in key energy states like Wyoming, New Mexico, and Alaska. Permits to drill now last 4 years. Royalty requirements on extracted methane are gone, and the Bureau of Land Management must lease nominated parcels within 18 months, meaning no more delays from red tape. These key changes will reduce costs and unlock American energy dominance.
All right, before we get to the Coast Guard, if you're just joining us now, a few things that we want to say about the great United States Coast Guard. Also, before we get there, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Medical freedom, of course, starts with access, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy delivers. They're changing the way people get their medications. So no insurance, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door, because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be complicated. All Family Pharmacy makes it simple in just 3 easy steps. So first, you'll select the medications you need online. The second step is a licensed doctor will review your order and writes the prescription. The third step, your medications are shipped directly to your door. So they carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 more medications. And yes, every order includes the doctor's prescription, so you can take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. So you can visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code to save 10%. Let's also go to Tax Network USA if you need some financial peace of mind and also really just want to get down to crunching the numbers there. You can settle your back taxes. You can get that one step closer to it. Maybe you missed one of the years. Well, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is that number you see on the screen. Also, tnusa.com/RSBN. Both great ways to reach out to these great patriots. Tax Network USA. All right, so speaking of the USA, the United States Coast Guard today is 235 years young. Great, great, great. Great to see that. I posted that photo on my Truth Social as well. And you think about the Coast Guard, you think about, of course, people that are rescuing people that are stuck in a lake or a river or the ocean, that kind of thing. But they're also out there helping with the Navy and Customs Border Protection when it comes to, illegal immigration, narcotics, that kind of thing. So they're doing a lot, very busy these days at the Coast Guard. Let's go to a video. Just, again, this is just honoring the United States Coast Guard 235th birthday today. There's a video of a rescue that was done, I believe, about 5-6 months ago. This is from the Department of Defense, this video that I saw. And this is just a day in the life of someone that's going through, and rescuing someone that was stuck in some water after the boat kind of crashed. So let's take a look.
And the swimmer's ready. All right, and begin hoist. Roger, beginning hoist. Hold it in here, swimmer is right below the helicopter. Swimmer is halfway down, forward and right 40. Forward and right 40. Forward and right 30. Swimmer is 10 feet off the water. He is on ground. Swimmer's away, swimmer's okay, easy back. Roger, easy back and left. Easy back and left, back and left. Be a direct deployment of the basket to Luke Schuler. Hold on, he's calling us real quick. Swimmer 6-1, go ahead, channel T1.
You can just do a regular basket with no trail line.
Basket, no trail line, copy.
This time I'll take it a little bit slower, so that way we kind of control that swing. Any questions or comments?
Do you want to do a trail line?
basket, no trail line, right?
You said basket, no trail line. Okay, sounds good.
And brakes in place, a little bit low.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Hold.
Hold.
Basket is on deck, hold position here. Eyes are ready for pickup. Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right.
Easy right. Hold.
Easy right. Hold.
Ready, take a load, take a load. Driver's coming up. You are clear back and left.
Right here. Nice. Back and left.
Survivor is right below the door. Survivor is at the chime panel. Steve, look at your two.
Yep, I got him inside C-SPAN.
Roger.
Thanks, man. Good altitude.
Bringing him in.
Roger.
Survivors entering the cabin. Easy forward and right.
Easy.
Hold. Swimmer has the hook. Swimmer is connected.
Roger.
Eyes ready to pick up. Easy back.
Easy back.
Hold. Ready to take the load. Take the load.
Plenty of gas.
Okay, again, just watching that because today is the 235th birthday of the United States Coast Guard. One more quick video, but this one's really good too because the Coast Guard is involved with the Southern Border Mission, even out in the open sea, whether it's with Customs Border Protection, the Navy, the Coast Guard, local law enforcement. Just a while back, they received a whole lot of narcotics by stopping a number of vessels. I believe it was 14 vessels or so. There was just a huge, huge stop of all these narcotics trying to get to our shores. So this is just some raw video from the Department of Defense, and then we're going to move on as we continue our live coverage here on Right Side. So take a look at that video. All right, so there you go. That was just from a few months back when it comes to the Coast Guard. So happy birthday, Coast Guard, 235 years young, as we are looking live at the White House there. If you're just joining us now, the President's public schedule, there are no live events for the public that was on that public schedule that was released last night. The only thing that was on there is the fact that the President will meet with the Vice President for lunch. Speaking of the White House, though, the White House just released a video from regarding Alabama. Alabama leaders praising and celebrating the big, beautiful law. Take a look.
I'm Rex Reynolds from Huntsville, Alabama.
I'm Representative Susan DuBose. I'm from Shelby County in Alabama.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Ledbetter, Alabama Speaker of the House.
I'm Arthur Orr, and I serve in the Alabama State Senate.
Big, beautiful bill certainly will secure tax cuts for Alabamians, and we certainly support that. It will also work on our workforce retention and developing additional jobs in the future.
I cannot thank President Trump enough for the impact this bill is going to make in the state of Alabama. We're going to have our taxpayers be able to keep more of their hard-earned dollar thanks to President Trump.
Certainly appreciate President Trump and what he's doing for Alabama in passage of the big, beautiful bill. It helps our economy. Not only does it secure our borders, but it also helps to bring life into our education system.
It's going to mean a lot to our state when it comes to the opportunity zones that are now going to be focused more for the rural areas, which is significant to a state like Alabama. Additionally, the tax cuts for senior citizens and their Social Security, overtime pay, other things that will certainly help our citizens, along with bringing the manufacturing jobs back home from offshore and improving our industrial base. So we're grateful for all that has happened and appreciate the passage of that fine legislation.
And as some of you know, Right Side Broadcasting Network, headquartered right here in the great state of Alabama. So, all right, looking at the White House there live right now, what we're going to do is go to something that's recorded. Now, this is about a 9-minute interview. We don't usually go to a recorded interview unless it really pertains to the 24/7 news cycle. In this case, it definitely does. It's all about freedom. It's all about the Brazilian people. It's also about President Trump helping the Brazilian people by adding a 40% additional tariff against Lula and the country to try and get this whole thing taken care of when it comes to allowing people to have freedom of expression. There's an actual fact sheet from the White House in regards to this. I'm going to go over some of that fact sheet after we go to this interview with Ricardo Martins. He is, when I met him, my wife and I met him at CPAC a few years back. He was with Jair Bolsonaro, who was speaking at the time there in D.C. So this guy's connected. He knows what's going on and connected in a good way to freedom. So let's look at that interview in a second. After that, we're going to watch President Trump once again from yesterday's moment where he spoke to the press for about 12 minutes. We'll also monitor any of the latest news. Like that video right there from the White House literally posted within the past 5 minutes. So we're really keeping our eyes and ears out there for you out there in America. So, all right, so it's 12/21, Monday, August 4th. Let's go to Ricardo Martins from within the 24/7 news cycle. Let's go to Ricardo Martins right now. Ricardo, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Your thoughts on this fact sheet that the White House just put out, talking about the threat from Brazil and now these 40% additional tariffs. President Trump knows what's going on, doesn't he?
Exactly. I'm glad to see you again. And this is huge in Brazil. And the impact down in Brazil has been all over the country now. There's hundreds of ships on the sea right now stopped from coming to America because of the tariffs. So it's been a nightmare for a lot of people. But President Trump took the best decision ever to stop all the censorship, all the tyranny in Brazil. The human rights abuse has been tremendous. We've been experiencing for a long time this censorship over and over again. And this is the time when President Trump took the decision to stop Judge Alexandre de Moraes and all the Lula regime from coming along with China and joining this nightmare league against the United States. So it was not only an economical tariff, but also a blockage from all of the censorship industry, all the tyranny that has been taking place since 2022. And now the Department of State, the State Department is, now the U.S. State Department is in conversations with a man, which is a whistleblower, to come to the United States. He's now in Italy, and he is the main man to expose the entire corruption election scandal in 2022. So this has been going for months now, and this is the time that really, it's like a decision for Brazilians. Or we go all in a dictatorship like Chinese style, or we become a beacon of freedom like the U.S. This is the time of decision for many Brazilians. People are all over on the streets, and this has been impacting Brazilians in a way that I've never seen it before, Matt. I'll be honest with you. I've never seen it before.
Exactly. And also within the past couple of years, since I'm a news nerd, I watch a lot of stuff, even overseas and, down in Brazil, all over the place. And I remember seeing Hundreds of thousands. We're not talking 100. We're not talking 10 people like the other day because they were upset that Colbert didn't have his job anymore. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, flooding the streets of Brazil in support of Jair Bolsonaro, the conservative Make Brazil Great Again leader that got the election stolen from him. And so you are joining that chorus. I'm joining the chorus too, because I'm all about the free world, just like President Trump is, right? I want our country to have freedom. I don't want our country to ever face what your country is facing. But this is why I want to shed light to it. So when we met you at CPAC, my wife and I, remember we walked up to you and we talked to you a little bit, and we saw Jair Bolsonaro walk right by after he spoke. I think it was, what, 23, 22?
23, yes.
Okay, 2023, CPAC in D.C. At that point, did you know that Jair Bolsonaro was going to face, did he face physical attack? Well, he was stabbed, wasn't he? He faced lawfare? I mean, and this is a guy that's leading the country for freedom. And it's so similar to what we've dealt with President Trump.
Yes. So Bolsonaro, he was once called the Trump of the tropics because of his position for the country. And President Trump like him very much because of his love for Brazil, love for freedom. And of course, he is definitely not a man which will be like in love with the Chinese, for example. So he's 100% pro freedom. And because of the relationship built from the last couple of years between Trump and Bolsonaro, and especially Eduardo Bolsonaro, which is a friend of also President Trump and his family, and also he's one of the Brazilian Bolsonaro's son, and he is in America right now and living in exile because he was forced to flee the country and avoid any prosecution from the same judge that has just got the Magnitsky Act against him in Brazil. So this is huge. And now Brazilians are now in protest all over the country. This is not only just one place, separate place, and a second separate place. It's been all over the country, especially in areas, this is very surprising, in areas that there's more people that like most the socialists. They took over the streets against not only Judge Alexander de Moraes, but also the Lula regime, because they're all together. Remember, it's a Supreme Court coup d'etat with now the executive of Lula's da Silva regime, and they're building this realm of influence against Trump, speaking about especially like the BRICS currency and all of the things that Lula has been very outspoken against. And now he took a fight against Donald Trump, and we do know he cannot win, because he will be in great trouble in the next couple of months, because there's a lot of things coming forth, and the White House already know, the State Department already know, and there's a lot of whistleblower that have come. And remember this for all your audience: Brazil was a huge lab for the censorship to test all the censorship devices and mechanisms against people. So they used the Brazilian model against Americans. That was very clear what happened, and we know it. So now it is the time to take all that apart, all that down, to tear all the walls, all the censorship walls. And we hope the American companies, for example, Truth Social, which was blocked their videos from being shared and within Brazilians, now we can have 100% freedom to speak loud.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. That's why I wanted to have you on the broadcast, joining the chorus of the people of Brazil who are on the right side of history. I remember meeting not only you, sir, but my wife and I were in Nevada at a conference, and we were at the Trump International Hotel there. And there were a number of Brazilians there with, I mean, come on, the flags and all the things and MAGA and all that.
Very outspoken.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, the passion. Come on, we all know that. I mean, my grandpa was from Cuba. I get, some of the Hispanic side, I like it. But the point is, when I was out there, everybody was they loved, we love Trump, we love Bolsonaro, we were clapping, we were having a good time. And so that's why it's like ingrained in me now, because I've never traveled to Brazil, but the point is, it's all about the freedom of the people in our country and anywhere in the world. And before I let you go, Ricardo, I want to ask you a question. from a 30,000-foot view, isn't this just deep state globalists trying to put their hands on the people of the world?
Exactly, right on point. There's no doubt that we, as a nation, and believing that the deep state now is in big trouble because they've been exposed, and all these cabal mechanism that has been, because we came to shed light on all the darkness. And as the darkness is getting exposed day by day, we can clearly see that all the things they call conspiracies and everything, it was just the truth. And knowing the truth, we cannot just like close our eyes and be blind before all the things that is happening. And yes, it wasn't any conspiracy, it was the truth.
Yeah.
And I really understand that this is going to take place more and more and grow. And I thank God for President Trump. I thank God for you Americans that are helping us. And I cannot thank enough all the Trump administration for all the things they're doing for the benefit of we Brazilians.
Yes, and then in other parts of the world too. I mean, it's really that common sense leadership that we see by this president. Ricardo Martins, thank you again for joining us. I know you've been on the broadcast before. We'll have you back on again. Tell your family hello, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you. All right, and speaking of Brazil, over the weekend, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Brazilians took to the streets to protest for freedom against Lula. And many of them were holding up signs, including signs to thank President Trump. I'm going to read one of them here that I saw from Mary on the Fall on X. But let me go to my Truth Social here and double check and just read it word for word. As it's, it's great to be able to echo what is needed for some of the common sense initiatives out there, AKA God, family, freedom, country. It's great to continue to keep that in a news cycle, regardless if the mainstream media talks about it or not. So specifically, this is the photo. I know you can't see it from that distance, but I'm going to read from this real quick. It says, "Thank you, Mr. President Donald Trump. The Brazilian people appreciate your support in defending freedom of expression against the tyranny of the judiciary. As you so rightly said on that fateful day, fight, fight, fight." That's on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez if you want to check it out. But yeah, so that's good stuff there, man. It's just good to, again, be on the right side of history. All right, so it's the bottom of the hour, 12:31. It's Monday, August 4th. Let's go to a couple of our great sponsors here. Cove Pure. So Utah and Florida, they just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the past 80 years? So RFK has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. In a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So their Clear Wave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back because it makes your water taste so good. And the best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want, cold, hot, warm. It can be easier. If you happen to like fluoride, obviously that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below at covepure.com/RSBN, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or X. You can also just go to Cove Pure. It's covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get the special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Great new sponsor, great new product. I like that one there, definitely. I like them all, I mean, obviously, but MyPillow.com is one of them too. Free shipping for all sorts of products, more than 2,000 products on there. I could go for a cup of joe right now. They have my coffee. I wouldn't mind taking a nap a little bit later, but I got to go work out too. I got to stay healthy. So anyway, all of those kind of products there for you. at mypillow.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Been up for quite the morning here. We were live starting at 10 this morning. It's now the bottom of the hour, 12:33. We'll go to about 1 o'clock Eastern time. If there's any new announcements or any kind of breaking news or developing news, we'll go to that as well. In the meantime, within the 24/7 news cycle, President Trump spoke to reporters just yesterday on his way back from Bedminster, New Jersey. He was at the Allentown Airport in Pennsylvania, which is nearby. And before he boarded the Air Force One, he was just getting off of Marine One, walked over to reporters, and this is what happened.
Okay, thank you very much. We had a very good weekend in many respects. We're seeing phenomenal numbers in terms of the business we do with other countries and the business we do within our own country. I mean, really phenomenal numbers. We'll be announcing a new statistician sometime over the next 3-4 days. We had no confidence. I mean, the numbers were ridiculous, what she announced, but that was just one negative number. All of the numbers seem to be great, and so we'll see how that comes out. And if you remember, just before the election, this woman came out with these phenomenal numbers on Biden's economy. Phenomenal numbers. And then right after the election, they announced that those numbers were wrong. And that's what they did the other day. So it's a scam, in my opinion. My opinion is it's just additional scam.
On Russia, Mr. President, can you say, have those nuclear submarines been deployed yet to face Russia?
I've already put out a statement, and the answer is they are in the region, yeah, where they have to be.
Is what Steve Witkoff's message will be to the Russians? Is there anything they can do to avoid sanctions at this point?
Yeah, get a deal where people stop getting killed. They had a number that just came out that a tremendous number of Russian soldiers are being killed. And likewise, Ukraine, a lower number, but still thousands and thousands of people. And now we're adding towns where they're being hit by missiles. So it's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war. And, you know, we stopped a lot of countries from war, India and Pakistan. We stopped a lot of countries. And we're going to get that one stopped, too. Somehow we're going to get that one stopped. That's a really horrible war. You heard about Cambodia and Thailand. We got that one done. We got the Congo, which was going on for 31 years. Rwanda, that one's done. We stopped a lot of wars. This is the one we seem to be, this should be the easiest to stop, and it's not. I mean, Rwanda and Congo were going on 31 years, and I got it stopped. 8 million people dead, at least. That's what they have, but I think the number's much higher. And the leaders of each country, Rwanda and the Congo, they were great. They were great, and they wanted it stopped. 31 years it went on. We stopped a lot of wars. Serbia, Kosovo was going to be happening, and I don't believe it will now, so we stopped that one too. Yes.
You said you had more of an update to give us on Gaza, on the Gaza trip. Can you give us anything now?
We want the people fed, and we're the only country that's really doing that. We're putting up money to get the people fed, and Steve Witkoff is doing a great job, and we want Israel to get them fed. We're giving some pretty big contributions, basically to purchase food so the people can be fed. We don't want people going hungry, and we don't want people to starve, and there's some bad things happening.
Do they see evidence of a genocide in Gaza?
I don't think it's that. Look, they're in a war. Some horrible things happened on October 7th, as you know. It was a horrible, horrible thing. One of the worst I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of bad things in some president in terms of wars and potential wars. I mean, if you look at the one that we just stopped, there are thousands of people being dead already at the border between Thailand and Cambodia. Thousands of people. And I mean, I've seen some bad things, but that October 7th with Hamas was really, really bad.
Mr. President, can you give us an update on Steve Witkoff in Russia, and what happens on Friday if the deadline comes and Russia has not agreed to a ceasefire?
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, what advice do you have for Republicans on Capitol Hill heading into midterms? What do they need to do? What can they do to, hold
one of the things they're going to be talking about pretty soon are the tremendous drop in drug prices. We've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%. I don't mean 50%, I mean 14, 1,500%. Because we're going favored nations. We want the same prices Europe gets. We want the same prices other country gets. And over the years, 25, 30 years ago, it started where they were charging us much more. And I put an end to it, with a letter that you saw last week. So I think that's going to be a point. I don't know how anybody could win an election if they're on the other side of that issue. So we'll be dropping drug prices. It'll start over the next 2 to 3 months by 1,200, 1,300, and even 1,400% and 500%, but not just 50% or 25%, which normally would be a lot, because the rest of the world pays much less for the identical drug, and we're going to be paying the same thing. We're going to have a favored nations. We will pay as low as the lowest nation in the world.
And then, Mr. President, I think it just came out $29 billion in July taken in tariff revenue. Could we see a potential rebate here, and what would that look like, and who would qualify?
Well, we're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money coming in, much more money than the country's ever seen, by hundreds of billions of dollars. And there could be a distribution or a dividend to the people of our country. I would say for people that would be middle-income people and lower-income people, we could do a dividend. But one of the things we're going to be doing is reducing debt. But we have hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our country now. We should have done this many years ago. And I did it in my first term with China. We didn't get to the rest because COVID hit. And you couldn't really go to France and Spain and Italy and say, let's start talking about some tariffs. But China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we did it then. Then Biden screwed it all up. He screwed everything he touched, he screwed up. Thank you.
Mr. President, will you endorse Winsome Earl Sears in the Virginia governor's race?
Yeah, I would. I would. I think probably she's got a tough race. She shouldn't have. But because the candidate she's running against is not very good. But I think she's got a tough race. But I would, yeah.
When will you swear in Janine Pirro to be the U.S. Attorney for D.C.?
Swear in Janine Pirro, who's going to be fantastic at what she does in D.C. Over the next very short period of time. I think she's going to be fantastic. Don't forget, Janine Pirro was a great judge and a great prosecutor. And because she was so good, I was there. She was an amazing prosecutor and judge. And because she was so good, they drafted her into show business. And she did fantastic. The Five was the #1 show, et cetera, et cetera. Janine Pirro was also really good at that. But her real love is exactly what she's doing. And that's what made her such a success in show business. So Janine Pirro is going to be amazing. And I'll swear her in as soon as we can swear her in. We need her. She's going to be amazing.
Are you happy with how the Rose Garden turned out? And will you have some kind of event? The Rose Garden, are you happy with how it turned out?
Great reviews on the Rose Garden, and we had to do it. As an example, when we had a press conference, you'd sink into the mud. It was grass, and it was very wet, always wet, damp, but wet. And if it rained, it would take 3, 4, 5 days for it to dry out. And we couldn't use it for really the intended purpose. So whether they had events or they had news conferences, we couldn't use it. And it's a beautiful white stone, and it's a stone that's the same color as the White House itself. And because it's very white, it's going to reflect the heat. It's not going to be very hot, like if you had a dark stone. So, yeah, we've gotten great reviews on the Rose Garden.
Any update on the search for the Federal Reserve Board? Have you been interviewing candidates?
No, I have a couple of people in mind. I'll be announcing somebody for the filling of the person that left. A woman left, as you know, who was I guess a Biden appointment. either Biden or Obama, but I think a Biden appointment. And she left early, and I think she left because she agreed with me on interest rates, and yet they were on the other side of the ballpark, right? So I'll be announcing that probably over the next couple of days.
Okay. Mr. President, one more on tariffs here. As you continue to, pile up these trade deals, are you kind of gaining more leverage over countries that haven't come out, made a deal with you?
I'm not looking for leverage. I'm looking for fairness. We want reciprocal as much as possible. Sometimes reciprocal would be too much for them to handle because it would be a much bigger number. But we want to see some reciprocity. We want to see reciprocal wherever we can. And all I can say is this: our country will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. You just said it. Already we're taking in, billions and billions of dollars. And it was very unfair. The world treated us very unfair. But the next big move is going to be the price of drugs. Because you could buy something in London or in Germany, someplace in Germany or many countries where it's 1/10, 1/3, 1/4, but sometimes 1/10 the price of what it costs to buy it in New York or some other place. And we're not doing that anymore. We're not allowing that anymore. That started many years ago when people were asleep at the wheel in this country, and they allowed that to happen, and I'm stopping it.
I'm a UN ambassador. Will that still be a cabinet level position, sir, or not?
I don't know. I haven't determined that yet. That's a good question. I'll make a decision. He's a very good guy, but I'll make a decision.
Mr. President, what is your relationship with Laura Loomer? What kind of influence with Laura Loomer? What kind of influence does she have in the White House?
I think she's very nice. I mean, I know she's known as a radical right, but I think Laura Loomer is a very nice person. I've known her for a long time. And, personally, I think she's a patriot. And she gets excited because of the fact that she's a patriot. And she doesn't like things going on that she thinks are bad for the country. I like her.
Mr. President, actress Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
Who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, the president back there at the White House now. Yesterday, of course, speaking with reporters for about 12 minutes. All of this brought to you by some great sponsors here at Right Side, including All Family Pharmacy. So medical freedom starts with access, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy delivers. They're changing the way that you get your medications. No insurance, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door, because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be complicated. All Family Pharmacy makes it simple in just 3 easy steps. First, you select the medications you need online. Then, a licensed doctor reviews your order and writes the prescription. And finally, your medications are shipped directly to your door. So they carry the essentials like NAD+, and methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 more medications. And every order includes a doctor's prescription. So you can take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. You can visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 10 promo code to save 10%. Speaking of RSBN, of course, if you'd like to donate to Right Side as we continue to grow and expand here at the network, you can do that by going to rsbnetwork.com/donate, or you can text RSBN to 801-801. For those that would like to send cash or a check, you can do so at 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. All right, it's 12:48. Let's take a quick commercial break. It's beautiful there in Washington, D.C. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network, looking live there at the U.S. Capitol building, and of course the White House. Live pictures, live feeds to us here. It's about 10 minutes or so to the top of the hour. We'll be wrapping our broadcast in about 10 minutes. What we're going to do is monitoring any developing news or breaking news as well as we remain on the air. If there's any breaking news or an announcement of a press conference or anything going on later in the day, of course, we can be right back here in the studio. Also, you can always stay up to date by going and following our Rumble page, YouTube, X, downloading our app. There's so many ways you can check us out, of course. And of course, Truth Social Plus, doing awesome out there, or just Truth Plus. So good stuff to see all that conservative media, one-stop shop, which is always nice to see that. In the meantime, if you were with us about 15, 20 minutes ago, I played that interview with Ricardo Martins talking about Brazil, and I wanted to dive into some of the fact sheet from the White House here in regards to the executive order that President Trump signed. I believe it was on July 30th, establishing an additional 40% tariff to address the government of Brazil's unusual and extraordinary actions harming U.S. companies and the policies, too. The free speech rights of U.S. persons, the United States foreign policy, and the U.S. economy. So the order finds that the government of Brazil's politically motivated persecution, intimidation, harassment, censorship, and prosecution of the former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, and thousands of his supporters are serious human rights abuses that have undermined the rule of law in Brazil. So this is the specifics that we're seeing here, that the president saying the White House saying that President Trump has consistently reaffirmed his commitment to defending the United States' national security, foreign policy, and against the foreign policy and economy, defending that against foreign threats, including by safeguarding free speech, protecting U.S. companies from unlawful censorship, coercion, and holding human rights abusers accountable for their lawless behavior. So what we've seen is recently members of the government of Brazil have taken unprecedented actions to tyrannically and arbitrarily coerce U.S. companies to censor political speech, deplatform users, and turn over sensitive U.S. user data, or change their content moderation policies on pain of extraordinary fines, criminal persecution and prosecution, asset freezes, and complete exclusion from the Brazilian market. So the White House saying this undermines not only the viability of U.S. companies' business operations in Brazil, but it also the policy of the United States in promoting free and fair elections and safeguarding fundamental human rights at home and abroad. So just reading there from the White House, and it's great to see these kind of things happen because we're standing up for the right side of history, standing up for freedom, and it's always good to see that. As it's 12:52 right now. We've been live since 10 this morning. If you're just joining us right now, we're going to be on the air for a few more minutes here. You can always replay this broadcast. I will guarantee you that there are some things that we spoke about here on the network over the past couple hours and videos that you haven't seen, guaranteed. And if I'm wrong, just tell me on the comments. Say, hey, no, I saw all that and heard all that before. I do think it's a lot of good, fresh content that we just brought you since 10 this morning. So seriously, if you get a chance to replay it, at least add that view to the amount of people watching. Always good to see that. As we continue to cover conservative news, as we continue to cover President Trump and all of the ins and outs there in Washington, D.C., you see the U.S. Capitol building, the White House right there. So yeah, glad you're here with us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. What I'm looking forward to as well, there's going to be a lot of I believe, rally coverage coming up. You think about it, we have these midterms, which are in November of next year. So that would be great to see the patriots, all of us out there again, with everyday America, going to various events and rallies, whether they're small rallies, large rallies, whether it's just endorsements, whatever, because that midterm is extremely important. We know that we're seeing a lot of wins within our United States government with President Trump at the helm, the head coach, and we're looking forward to more wins. We also want to see justice served. Again, if you didn't watch yesterday, I talked about that Superman movie out there. Maybe it was last week. Some of them run together. But yes, there's political undertones in the Superman movie, but I liked watching it just from entertainment perspective. But the whole motto of Superman has always been truth, justice, and the American way. And that is so right for what we want right now. We want truth, justice, and the American way. And we know we have someone in President Trump who's on the right side of history. We want to see these investigations with the DNI, FBI, DOJ into the Russia hoax. We want to have transparency when it comes to anything with this Epstein case, that kind of thing. We want to see the wins continue to happen in government, which is for the people. I believe that this government that we have right now is our best chance at really saving the day for not only the next 3.5 years, but for the future. So looking forward to covering it. And I'm glad that you guys are choosing Right Side Broadcasting Network. Whether you just, have us on in the background or you're typing on, the comments section there and maybe not really just listening to every word we're saying, but whether maybe you are, it'd be great that, you guys are relying on us here at the network and relying on conservative media, because it is something that most of the things you'll hear here are not things that you'll hear in the mainstream media. So who cares anymore, right? The mainstream media, they're probably scrambling because they realize, oh, wait, the United States of America still has freedom of speech. Crap. Oh, they have technology. Oh, no. Oh, no, there's people that are working in conservative media that are on the right side of history that resonate with the people. Oh, crap. We're the ones that have had all the ratings. We're the ones that have had all the corporate woke companies pay for our advertising so we can have the nicest, fanciest sets in all the cities across America. But wait a minute. There's some studio in Alabama, and there's all these other conservative networks that are out there, and podcasters and influencers, and the people are waking up and saying, oh my gosh, there's an option to the fake news lamestream media, and it's called true conservative media, who tells it like it is. And there are a lot of people out there that don't, not a lot, only a few, that don't like when people tell it like it is. And the few people that don't like when people tell it like it is are the ones that would want to control us. We don't want that. That's why President Trump, he told it like it was. That's why we're like, hey, we like this guy. He's not establishment. We like him. So it's the same way it's going to be in true conservative media from now until Jesus returns. Why not go for the gold, right? Go for the platinum, go for the diamond, go for the best outcome for conservative media. Why not, right? We've got a lot of great people on this side, and I think hopefully more will come out of the woodwork, because it's a team effort here. Whether it's at this network or other networks, whatever. Again, it's all about that messaging of the truth and articulating that and covering it and bringing you all these live events. And that's what we do here at the network. We love doing it. We'll continue to do it. And just glad that there is something called conservative media. We're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. It's 12:57. We want to thank all of our sponsors for being a part of this broadcast, as we have been live since 10 this morning. So a 3-hour broadcast, not bad. And it was great to be able to go over a lot of the videos, a lot of the fresh content on social media, from Truth Social to X, when it comes to the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of the Interior. We checked out videos from the Department of Defense, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard celebrates its 235th birthday today. So shout out to you guys out there. Also, of course, we've been able to see the president a couple times now speak to reporters yesterday. So it's really keeping up with the latest of what's going on. We had Justine Brooke Murray on earlier speaking about Sweeney, the whole ad there, and we dove into a number of topics. We had the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon on talking about so many topics as well. And great insight by both people that were on the broadcast today, and also just hanging out together as we continue our week. It is Monday, August 4th, 12:58 Eastern Time. We're going to push it right to 1 o'clock, and then we'll close the broadcast unless there's any breaking news at that point. But just thank you guys so much for being a part of conservative media. And we can go with thanking our sponsors as well. Let's specifically thank All Family Pharmacy. You see that website right there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you guys. Also, thank you to callsheet.com/RSBN. You can bet and trade and check out polls all over the place, callsheet.com/RSBN. Also, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas, the flagship products right there. Use that RSBN promo code. That gets you a long way, a nice percentage off. Also, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415, tnusa.com/RSBN. Also, Cove Pure, a new sponsor here. Great product there. Protect what matters. Instead of drinking tap water, man, you're getting something like this. That's the right way to do it, in my opinion. It does taste better, too. And let's also go to mypillow.com/RSBN. You have free shipping there. Always good. More than 2,000 products for you. And also RSBN Donate. If you'd like to donate, you see the website there at the bottom. You see where you can text. We talked about all of that throughout the past 3 hours. It is now 1 o'clock. Thanks for sticking with us for 3 hours. Those of you that watched for 3 full hours, thank you. That was awesome. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Have a good day.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.